Chapter 181, Lei Chen. Up till this point, Su Ming had only been circulating his chi to counter the power sucking away his life force as he walked through the previous 6 sections of the chain. He did not use any other method to counter the force. The branding art was only used to destroy the stone pillar. At other times, Su Ming would keep it in himself. He did not wait for night to fall, did not activate the branding art, even fine control was rarely used. He only used the power of all the blood veins he had at that point in his body. After the few months of meditating in the isolation grounds of Han Mountain's ancestor, Su Ming had discovered something unique that existed only within those who attained completion for the blood solidification realm. If he did not want to, his blood veins would not appear on his skin. During the first 5 sections, Su Ming only used the power of around 700 blood veins. He only used the full power of all 979 blood veins when he was walking on the 6th section of the chain. Su Ming knew he had to use some of his hidden techniques when he faced the 7th section of the chain, or else, with just the power of the 979 blood veins, even if he managed to finish walking past the 7th section, the life force that was absorbed would affect his future plans. My body will recover quicker under the moonlight, the same goes for my blood circulation. It'll also produce more life force for me. Su Ming lifted his head and looked at the moon in the sky. Most of it was concealed by the clouds. The moon was not round, but in Su Ming's eyes, the moon belonged solely to him. Moonlight shone on the ground without form. Some of the light was reflected off the small drops of rain, forming brilliant colors that could not be seen by others. As the light blended into Su Ming's body, he slowly rose up and walked towards the 7th section of the chain. He started on the 7th section. This section is incredibly dangerous. It's far too easy falling to your death here. I also heard that a lot of people failed at this section. It's a pity, this person already wasted too much energy in the 6th section. The 7th section might be difficult for him. Moonlight scattered on the ground at night. It might not be as bright as daylight, but the people could still see Su Ming walking towards the 7th section of the chain. The crowd had already been watching for an entire morning, but they refused to go and rest even if it was night. Some of them even chose to go to places where there was no rain to sit down and watch as they talked amongst themselves. The old woman might have been tired, but she continued standing on the summit of Lake of Colors Mountain with Yan Luan supporting her as she watched. The 7th section, the section of doom, the old woman mumbled. Yan Luan was silent. She did not speak, but simply looked onward. At that moment, Su Ming did not realize that behind him, in a house on the 2nd layer of Han Mountain, was Han Feizi, who had arrived some time ago. She had been standing there for a long time already, looking at Su Ming's back, pondering about something. Everyone on the mountain belonging to Tranquil East tribe was watching. The tribe leader of Tranquil East hesitated for a moment before he looked towards the elder by his side. Can he walk through the 7th section? You should ask Han Kangzi about that, the elder of Tranquil East said languidly with a calm expression on his old and aged face. Han Kangzi was silent for a moment before she spoke in a gentle but firm tone. Yes. The silent crowd on Pukchiang tribe also started discussing amongst themselves in low tones when Su Ming moved. Perhaps we don't even need to do anything anymore. Judging by his actions during the 6th section, he won't be able to complete the 7th section. Even if it's me, walking through the 6th section wouldn't have been so difficult. Looks like we overestimated this person. Best that he fails, or else we'll have to continue waiting here, and I'll have to waste my time. The sounds of discussion were low, but the words were cold, just like the berserker art Pukchiang practiced, they were filled with the implications of death. Only the elder of Pukchiang tribe and the man who looked like a mountain of flesh did not speak along with the others. These two people's expressions were different. The elder of Pukchiang tribe sat with narrowed eyes, not revealing his thoughts. As for the man who looked like a mountain of flesh, he was frowning. What are your thoughts? The elder of Pukchiang tribe, the old man so dried up that he looked like a skeleton, cast a glance at the man beside him. There are 3 reasons as to why he destroyed the stone pillars. 1. As a warning. 2. To be intimidating. 3. To cut off his own retreat, putting himself in a position where he must finish challenging the chain. No one would do that, but he did, From these tiny details, we can tell that this person has a certain amount of confidence, but his confidence shouldn't be too great, or else he wouldn't need to cut off his own retreat. However, I think he can complete the 7th section, the man who looked like a mountain of flesh said slowly as a glint appeared in his eyes. The rain at night was weak, but there was still the occasional thunder rumbling. Sometimes, lightning would flash in the sky and slice through the air, making the land bright for an instant. At that moment, a bolt of lightning appeared, and in the short moment when the land was lit up, the crowd saw Su Ming taking his first step towards the 7th section of the chain from the 6th stone pillar. Yet the moment he took his first step, Su Ming lurched forward. The others could not see it, but at that moment, the second his foot landed, Su Ming saw a person suddenly appear on the 7th section of the chain. This person's face was obscured, and it looked like it was just an apparition. It floated before Su Ming and over the chain of Han Mountain, looking at him silently. Su Ming. A faint voice floated towards him and traveled into Su Ming's ears, causing his heart, which was uninfluenced by virtually everything, to tremble the instant he heard the voice. Lei Chen. Su Ming immediately recognized the owner of the voice. The moment he called out the name, the apparition no longer remained obscured, but instantly turned clear. Very soon, a person with an alien appearance, but with a pair of familiar eyes appeared before Su Ming. There was a pained look on the person's face. He stood there with a baffled expression. There were numerous wounds on his body, and Su Ming could see some black insects crawling in those wounds. That person looked incredibly old, and his right eye was blind. At that moment, that eye let out a fierce light, but his left eye was staring at Su Ming dumbly, with disbelief. Su Ming, is that really you? This is. The person trembled and the pained look on his face grew worse. It was as if the pain he suffered at that moment was unbearable. Su Ming even saw a circular mark at the center of his brows. That mark was completely black. There was even black mist coming out from it, as if the mark had penetrated through his entire skull. This is impossible, it's not you. You're not you. Who are you? The person suddenly roared and glared at Su Ming. He took a huge step forward and charged towards Su Ming. A strong presence suddenly erupted forth from Lei Chen's body. When that presence appeared, Su Ming felt as if everything around him had frozen up. A mighty pressure fused with the aura of death pressed on him like a gigantic hand, causing his body to tremble. Lei Chen, Su Ming mumbled. His heart pounded and raced against his chest. He absolutely did not expect that something like this would appear on the 7th section of the chain. This is fake. I'm challenging the chains of Han Mountain. This is just an illusion formed in my heart. Su Ming's mind was not muddled. It was the opposite. His mind was incredibly clear, but it was this lucidity that made his heart tremble. You, who are you? Lei Chen growled ferociously. He was still closing in on Su Ming. A vicious presence crashed into Su Ming's body when Lei Chen was not even 100 feet away from him. A killing intent fueled by madness also appeared in Lei Chen's right eye. Lei Chen, I'm Su Ming. Su Ming was clear-headed, but the more lucid he was, the more terrified he became. He was not afraid of Lei Chen, nor of the heavens and earth, it was a fear that he could not describe. I am Su Ming, he mumbled. He looked at Lei Chen closing in on him viciously. He clenched his right hand and hurled his fist forward, but stopped abruptly when his fist was 3 inches away from his face. He stopped because Su Ming uttered one sentence. You once asked whether we would change. Lei Chen trembled. His bloodshot eyes were filled with viciousness and the remnants of disbelief. There was even terror as he looked at Su Ming dumbly. That's impossible. I buried you with my own hands. Is this an illusion? Is this another one of those illusions that are part of my training? Lei Chen laughed brokenly and retracted his right fist before punching his own chest. A muffled boom reverberated through the air, and Lei Chen's body dissipated instantly, turning into an indistinct blur once again that gradually disappeared from Su Ming's eyes. Su Ming's breathing quickened. He had not experienced such a change when he had walked through the 6 sections of the chains of Han Mountain, neither did he act this way under Pak Chiang's delicate words. Yet now, he could barely control his own breathing. He panted harshly. Is this an illusion or is it the truth? Is this my illusion, or Lei Chen's illusion? Is this my reality, or Lei Chen's reality? Lei Chen's appearance has changed a lot, and he has become so powerful. Is this my imagination? Su Ming trembled, as if he could not wake up from his nightmare. At that moment, a shocking uproar broke out in Han Mountain City. That commotion made all the people sitting down stand up once again. Lake of Colors tribe, Tranquil East tribe, and even Puxiang tribe were taken aback. All of them clearly saw Su Ming walking forward on the 7th section of the chain in the night. Yet his movements were completely different from before. It was as if he had forgotten that this was the chains of Han Mountain, and he had forgotten that he was walking on a chain, not a smooth pavement. At that moment, Su Ming looked as if he had lost his soul and his mind before these people's eyes. Even if he was moving, he looked like a walking corpse. There was even once where he almost missed his footing. This was definitely not something a person with a clear mind would do. This again, I remember hearing from someone before that every challenger walking on the 7th section would become like this. Just what secret lies in the 7th section? It's over. He didn't slip when he almost missed his footing just now because the wind was small and the chain wasn't swaying too hard. Now, the wind is here. The discussions that rose like tidal waves stopped instantaneously due to the sudden appearance of the fierce wind. As the wind moaned in the air, the 7th section of the chain started swaying furiously, and the speed at which it swung also increased. At that moment, a bolt of lightning sliced through the air, causing the discussions that had halted to rise once again in a volume louder than before. Because at the moment the bolt of lightning lit up the world, they saw clearly. On the chain, Su Ming lifted his right foot stiffly, and slipped. Chapter 182, Failure. He failed. If you fail at the 7th section, it's the same as dying. He definitely doesn't have any art that can keep him alive. This 7th section, the 7th section, I can't believe it's so dangerous. I don't even know why he became like this. This shouldn't have happened by how he performed at the 6th section. The sounds of discussing burst forth. Almost everyone stood up. Nan Tian and the others took a deep breath in disbelief. The 7th section might be difficult, but he's the person who could fight for the ancient bell with Sir Sima, and he failed, just like that. I knew that the 7th section is mysterious, but I don't know the details. Just what did this person go through in the 7th section? The discussions were endless, commotions broke out everywhere. Under everyone's eyes, Su Ming's foot missed the chain of Han Mountain and he fell. His body toppled to the side, and he fell downwards. The sight stirred up even stronger shock and cries of surprise. Nan Tian and the other 3 people did not hesitate one bit. They all flew up to look from midair. In the house on the 2nd layer of Han Mountain City, Han Feizi's face turned pale under the veil. She did not move, but simply stood as she looked into the distance with a dumbfounded expression. It doesn't matter whether he is Mo Su. If he fails at the 7th section, then no one can save him. Han Feizi lowered her head and closed her eyes. At the same time on Lake of Colors Mountain, the old woman widened her eyes. Yan Luan was also stunned by her side. Her face was filled with disbelief. This had happened too suddenly, catching them completely off guard. This is, Yan Luan was speechless and completely stunned. It's a pity, The old woman sighed lightly. She turned around and was about to leave the place. The entire day of watching the challenge with close attention had made her extremely tired, yet when she was about to leave, she saw Han Mountain City with the corner of her eyes and was suddenly stunned. The spot that she saw was where Han Mountain Bell was located. The bell did not experience any changes and continued lying silently in the corner. When Su Ming's foot landed on thin air and his body fell from the 7th section, besides Lake of Colors Mountain, Tranquil East Mountain also experienced a shocking change. For the first time, the elder of Tranquil East stood up and took a few brisk steps to the edge of the mountain to look. He took a deep breath and his eyes sparkled with shock concealed within. With his power, even if he can't make it through the 7th section, he shouldn't have failed like that. He's someone who's incredibly similar to Sima Xin. How could he just die like that? Fang Shen's face was pale. From the moment he recognized Mo Su to be the challenger of the chains of Han Mountain, he had been in a constant state of nervousness. That nervousness did not stem from his worry about Su Ming's well-being, but his son's injuries. When he saw Su Ming slip and fall from the chain, Fang Shen's body swayed and he staggered a few steps backwards. He knew that Mo Su was dead. No one could survive if they fell from the 7th section of the chain. Han Kangzi bit her bottom lip, and a baffled look appeared in her eyes. However, almost at the same instant that bafflement appeared, it turned into resolution. He won't die. At that very moment, due to Su Ming's surprising fall, even the man who looked like a mountain of flesh stood up on Pukchiang Mountain. All on the mountain took a few instinctive steps forward, including the elder of Pukchiang tribe. They came to the edge of the mountain and looked down. They could still see Su Ming's body falling downward swiftly, and he was soon swallowed by darkness, disappearing without a trace. HMPH. Didn't I say it before? This person will definitely die. The 7th section of the chain is not so easy. He was just walking to his own death. It's a pity. He sounded the bell 20-odd times, but he still died on the 7th section of the chain, and no one can save him. The elder of Pukchiang tribe narrowed his eyes and a chilling glint appeared in his eyes. He no longer looked at the canyons, but lifted his head and spoke with a surly tone. Send someone down and get his corpse back. Someone behind him immediately obeyed and quickly walked down the stairs to arrange for the task to be done. A disbelieving look appeared on the man who looked like a mountain of flesh. He looked at the canyons and then at the 7th section of the chain. A respectful look appeared in his eyes. Chains of Han Mountain. The crowd in Han Mountain City still had not recovered from the shock after witnessing the sudden scene. Even in the midst of all the buzzing discussions and commotion, most of their gazes would still turn back towards the 7th section of the chain in the moonlight. The chains of Han Mountain become incredibly dangerous starting from the 7th section. If even such a prodigy failed, then how can we even challenge it? Only if you walk up to the 9th section are you qualified to enter Freezing Sky Clan, but that's just a qualification. But if you're from one of the 3 tribes, then you won't need to walk though all 9 sections of the chain, just like how Han Kangzi did in the past. Time trickled by slowly, and the people in Han Mountain City gradually accepted the reality. Some of them felt that it was a pity, some of them were mocking him, some of them felt pleased with what had happened, and some were sighing deeply. Yet no matter what, everything had ended. The person who made the bell chime 20-odd times had become something in the past. Another person failed the challenge of the chains of Han Mountain once again. Another innocent soul died because of them. Let's go. It has ended. Let's go back to meditate and increase our blood veins. The chains of Han Mountain are not something we can challenge. It's a pity. We don't even know what that person's name was. We didn't even manage to see his face. Let's hope Pukchiang can find his corpse. The topic of people's discussions gradually started to move away from what had happened over the day, and they went back to their own houses with deep sighs. In the sky, Keiju Si and the other 3 people were all silent. Besides Zan Lun, who was laughing coldly in a gleeful manner in his heart, the other 3 had mixed feelings in their hearts as they looked at the chains of Han Mountain. They began to feel helpless as they were reminded of the approaching date of Freezing Sky Clan coming to take in disciples. Strong awakened berserkers like themselves could go back to their own tribes and enjoy life if they were satisfied and were willing to stop with their training. That was their best choice. However, they were not satisfied, even though they had already reached the awakening realm. I'll go back first. Nantien sighed and wrapped his fist in his palm towards the other 3 people before he turned into a long arc and went back to the second layer. Keiju Si and Leng Ying wrapped their fists in their palms too and saluted each other in silence before they left. Only Zan Lun remained standing in midair with a faint smile on his lips. You overestimated yourself and challenged the chains of Han Mountain. Mo Su, you brought about your own death. Zan Lun laughed coldly. He moved, but not back to his own domain. He flew instead to Pukchiang Mountain. He wanted to see whether Mo Su's face could be seen if he was brought back. If he even had a corpse left, that is. He already had a vague guess in his heart and wanted to prove himself right. In the house on the second layer of Han Mountain City, Han Fei Zi's eyelashes fluttered. She opened her eyes and took a step forward silently. White clouds manifested under her feet and lifted her up to bring her back to Lake of Colors Mountain. She was not curious about how the dead failure looked like, neither was she curious about his identity, because he was dead. To her, it no longer mattered whether this person was Mo Su or not. If he's Mo Su, then I'll have to look for another companion, such a pity. Han Feizi sighed and flew into the distance on the white cloud. Yet at that moment, when tranquil East Mountain fell into silence, Puxiang Mountain was celebrating Mosus's misfortune, and some were even went to search for his corpse. Suddenly, in the dispersing crowd in Han Mountain City, a dense boy standing beside an old man took a look at the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th stone pillars that were still underneath the chain of Han Mountain connecting to Puxiang Mountain with uncertainty and bewilderment. Then he whispered something into the old man's ear. The old man was momentarily stunned, then he quickly lifted his head to look at the chain. Everyone. The more he looked, the brighter the old man's eyes became. However, he was still a little skeptical. After a moment of hesitation, he called out to the people around him in a low voice. Yet no one took note of his words. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed in the sky. The rain became heavier. The rain during the day might have been heavy, but people were still standing outside to watch the chains of Han Mountain. Yet now, when the rain became just slightly heavier, these people were already walking briskly back to their houses. Everyone, the pillars supporting the chain are still there. The old man yelled out. His voice did not travel too far. Most of the people who heard it ignored him at first, but very soon, they jolted, then whipped their heads back to look. The stone pillars were still standing tall underneath the chain connecting to Puxiang Mountain. The stone pillars are still there. Once anyone fails in challenging the chains of Han Mountain, the stone pillars will all sink down instantly. This isn't something the three tribes can control. This is the mystery of the chains of Han Mountain. How could they still be there? Could it be? The old man and the boy were not the only ones who noticed it. People gradually started noticing this sight in other areas within Han Mountain City. Very soon, discussions and commotions broke out once again. After a while, most of the people who heard the sound stopped and turned to look. They're right, the stone pillars haven't sunk. Could it be? He's not dead yet. Cries of surprise reverberated through the air and eventually fused together. People's voices were like a windstorm blowing within Han Mountain City, causing all those who had originally wanted to go back to their houses to be stunned when they heard the words, and they immediately returned. As they listened to the cries of surprise around them and saw the stone pillars of Han Mountain standing tall before them, disbelief appeared on their faces. Is he really not dead? Nan Tian came to an abrupt pause in midair and turned around. Shock appeared on his face. He was not the only one. Leng Ying and Keju Si similarly stopped in midair and looked towards the stone pillars. Zhang Lun was the same. He had been laughing coldly and was just about to go to Puxiang tribe when he heard the cries of surprise from Han Mountain City. A jolt crawled down his body and he immediately turned around to look. That's impossible. Han Mountain City was not the only one in an uproar at that moment. The expressions of the elder, the man who looked like a mountain of flesh, and even all the other people behind them on Puxiang Mountain all changed drastically. They also noticed this. The cloud underneath Han Feizi's feet stopped momentarily. As she stood on the white cloud, she turned her head back and focused her gaze at the canyons underneath the chains of Han Mountain. He's still alive. He's still alive. The challenge for the chains of Han Mountain hasn't ended. The elder of Tranquil East tribe took in a sharp breath on Tranquil East Mountain. A rare look of disbelief appeared on his aged face. Han Kangzi stood not far in the distance. A hint of red finally appeared on her pale face. Chapter 183, Waking Up. The old woman's dark eyes sparkled as she stood on Lake of Colors Mountain. She looked at Han Mountain Bell, then at the stone pillars everyone was looking at while crying out in surprise. By the old woman's side, Yan Luan was also in a state of disbelief when the same thought that was going through everyone's head appeared in her mind. Could it be? Is he really not dead? Why else would the stone pillars not sink? The old woman was silent. She stared at the stone pillars and frowned. This matter threw her into a rare state of bafflement. Due to the dark clouds, moonlight could not fall completely to the ground. While it may not be so dark that people could not even see their own hands if they stretched them out in front of their eyes, but it was still rather dark, and they could only barely see the chain of Han Mountain swaying in the wind. The stone pillars continued standing tall underneath the pillars without any signs of sinking. The amount of labored breathing gradually increased in Han Mountain City. All of the watchers, including the people who originally wanted to leave, were all looking at the chain with full attention. An indescribable feeling, like the calm before a storm, fell upon the entire Han Mountain. All of them were waiting for the person who might appear in their sights under the swaying chain. Su Ming did not know that there were so many people waiting for him to appear. He did not even know that he slipped off the chain. Contrary to what the crowd saw, Su Ming was not in a muddled state. His mind was very clear, but what he saw was completely different from what the crowd saw. What he saw was still the swaying chain of Han Mountain in the wind. What he saw was still him with one foot on the 7th section of the chain. He saw Lei Chen's apparition breaking apart before him. That devastated laughter made his heart tremble. He could not tell whether it was his own illusion or whether it was Lei Chen's illusion. He did not even know whether this was real or fake. Even if he knew that everything might be a product of his own mind, Lei Chen's current appearance and his words made an uncontrollable sharp pain spike through his entire body. He buried me with his own hands, Su Ming mumbled. He fell silent for a long time, for a very long time. He did not hear the thunder in the sky, did not hear the wind whistling, did not see the lightning. He looked at the chain. Suddenly, the chain was no longer horizontal in his sight, but had turned vertical. The world, too, had turned upside down. He lifted his foot silently and moved forward. Yet when he felt that he had taken 10 steps forward, mist instantly gathered before him once again. A shudder ran through his body. The mist quickly gathered and eventually turned into the figure of a man. This person did not have his right arm. He wore a green robe and was standing there with a baffled expression, as if he did not know why he had appeared there. He had a handsome face, and after a short moment, the bafflement in his eyes was replaced by a piercing glint that was akin to light reflecting off a sword. Yet this piercing glint turned into a stunned expression when he saw Su Ming, which was quickly followed by a frown. His face became dark. Bei Ling, Su Ming mumbled and stared dumbly at the man who had obviously aged before him. An indescribable feeling rose within his heart. Who are you? Why did you lead my consciousness here? Your presence, have we met before? Bei Ling hesitated for a moment. The moment he saw this person, an incredibly familiar feeling rose within him. It felt as if it was something that was carved into his bones, as if it was a feeling that existed from a long time ago. Su Ming was silent for a time. After a long while, he said softly, "I'm Su Ming." The moment he heard Su Ming's name, Bei Ling trembled. He glared at him, with an expression that spoke of disbelief and that he could not imagine this happening. It was as if these two words left behind an impression that was difficult to erase within him. Bei Ling was silent. Su Ming did not speak either. He could not tell whether this was real or fake. Bewilderment filled every corner of his body. Neither knew how much time had passed when Bei Ling suddenly laughed coldly. He cast a deep look at Su Ming and his eyes became cold. Since when did the great tribe of Miao Man toy with berserker illusionary arts? And you don't even try forming the illusions of those around me, but chose to form Su Ming's illusion, who had already died. I don't care which Miao Man ancestor you are, but you shouldn't have created Su Ming's illusion. Su Ming is a member of my tribe. He is the hero of Dark Mountain. You have no right to turn into him. Bei Ling's last words were practically shouted out. Anger and sadness filled his face, as if an old scar that had been sealed off was forcefully ripped open, which caused Bei Ling to lift up his left hand abruptly, and immediately, the apparition of a giant bow appeared behind him. That bow exuded a presence that could destroy heaven and earth. The moment it appeared, it was drawn out as if an invisible person was drawing it. Wisps of black mist appeared from within Bei Ling's body and gathered around him, turning into a black mist arrow. The moment the bow was drawn out, the arrow shot out from the bow with a buzzing sound and charged straight at Su Ming. Bei Ling, big brother, Su Ming mumbled. His mind was very clear. He knew that all of this was fake, but even if he knew that it was fake, he still wanted to see whether after Bei Ling, the elder would appear, and whether the girl whom he failed to keep his promise with her would appear. The charging arrow came to an abrupt halt before Su Ming. It was just like with Lei Chen's punch, it stopped. What did you just say? The pain on Bei Ling's face grew stronger. He looked at Su Ming, and after a long while, he closed his eyes. Thank you, for letting me see Su Ming once again. I don't care why you chose to cast this illusion, but today, I thank you. After a while, Bei Ling opened his eyes. A calm look settled on his face. There was a gentle look in his eyes as he looked at Su Ming, as if he was looking at his own younger brother. Su Ming, take care. Bei Ling turned around. There were tears in his eyes. He slowly walked into the distance, looking as if he was about to disappear from the world. Big brother Bei Ling, is Chen Xin all right? At that moment, Su Ming forgot to remind himself that all of this was fake. He looked at Bei Ling walking away and instinctively opened his mouth to ask. Bei Ling shuddered and stopped. He turned around and his breathing became rapid as he stared at Su Ming. Bafflement and uncertainty appeared on his face. Su Ming looked at Bei Ling, then quickly put his right hand into his bosom. When he took his hand out, there was a black shard in his palm. That shard was the piece he took when Dark Mountain's statue of the god of berserkers broke. Even if all of this is fake, even if none of this is real, even so, it doesn't matter. Su Ming lifted his head and placed the shard in his hand for Bei Ling to see. The moment he saw the shard, Bei Ling's body trembled furiously. Shock appeared on his face and he stared at Su Ming dumbly. "Are you really Su Ming?" "I am," Su Ming said bitterly. Bei Ling suddenly started laughing loudly. That laughter was filled with misery and a pain that Su Ming did not understand. "If you are Su Ming, why didn't you come back? Do you know how long we waited for you? Do you know just how long we waited for you? Su Ming, you're not him." There was sorrow on Bei Ling's face. He turned around and gradually walked into the distance as he laughed miserably, disappearing from the chains of Han Mountain, from Su Ming's sight. Su Ming stood there right up until Bei Ling's body disappeared. Tears fell from the corners of his eyes. It had been a long time since he cried. At that moment, tears fell down his cheeks and on the chain, then into the canyons, disappearing without a trace. Chains of Han Mountain, just what sort of chains are you? Why did this scene appear? Are you trying to tell me something? Su Ming closed his eyes and only opened them after a long while before silently starting to walk forward again. Walking through the chain was no longer important. Su Ming did not want to think whether it was real or fake any longer. He did not even care whether it was dangerous. He just wanted to see who he would see as he continued walking forward. He continued onward. When he was halfway through the 7th section of the chain, he saw Wula, the head of the guards, Shan Hen. Eventually, the back of an old person with white hair appeared in the mist before him. "Elder." Su Ming's heart clenched in pain. He was just about to see the old man clearly when he turned around, his vision suddenly blurring and a sword whistle echoing in his head. At the same time, a voice filled with anxiety repeatedly crashed into his mind. This voice belonged to He Feng, who was shocked awake when he sensed death looming over him. "Master, wake up, Master. You if you don't wake up, then we'll die. Damn you, curse you, why aren't you awake yet? If you want to die, at least release me first." He Feng was in a state of frenzy as he yelled in a panic in his head. Su Ming's qi was not circulating at all. It was as if his qi was suppressed, but the small virescent sword hidden within the path of blood that had been opened inside him was letting out a buzzing sound that only he could hear. That buzzing sound was becoming increasingly stronger and was stimulating Su Ming's mind, causing him to wake up as he was dangerously falling. The moment he woke up, a sense of death looming over him instantly rushed into his heart and broke through everything in sight, as if the world before him shattered into pieces. Once it disappeared, what appeared before Su Ming was endless darkness and his rapidly falling body. He became truly awake. The moment he woke up, Su Ming suddenly understood. It did not matter whether what he saw was real or fake. In truth, these were all the lingering sights from the illusions that appeared when he was walking on the 7th section of the chain, which all remained in his head as he fell. Have I failed? But I haven't seen the elder. Su Ming was falling rapidly. The canyon was very deep. He could feel the wind around him roaring as his body rapidly closed in on the pit below. He Feng's panicked and terrified screams, along with the sword whistles reverberated in his head like thunder. No wonder the people who challenge the chains rarely survive if they fail. The chains of Han Mountain are really strange. They can suppress your qi and cause it to not circulate, and it can also make people lose consciousness. The only outcome is death. It's very hard for others to save the challengers. He Feng survived in the past not just due to Han Feizi's preparations, but also because of his luck. Su Ming became calm as his body continued falling. He might not know just how far the ground was, but the approaching impact and the increasingly stronger sense of death was enough to tell him that death was closing in on him rapidly. Chapter 184. Elder, please come out. Master, you're finally awake. There was a hint of bitterness in He Feng's voice. He already did not know how to express himself. He was shocked awake when he sensed death looming dangerously over him and immediately discovered that something was wrong with Su Ming. It was as if he had lost his soul, and his body was falling rapidly. Before long, he would crash and his body would turn to smithereens. Su Ming was unaware of his surroundings, so it was only natural that he did not know fear, but He Feng was conscious. He could only watch Su Ming's body fall, watch himself dying together with Su Ming, and he could do nothing about it. He could not control Su Ming's body, and neither could he leave it. The power outside that was suppressing his qi would also bring about destructive harm to him. He was truly afraid. This sort of torture where he had to walk to his own death and could do nothing about it made him mad. He called out to Su Ming in panic, had even started cursing him without bothering to sugarcoat his words by the end when he sank into despair. Yet when he saw that Su Ming was awake, He Feng suddenly became afraid again. That fear was no longer due to possibility of death, but due to the possibility of Su Ming having heard his words just now. If he did, then he might be in serious trouble. Master, what did you hear just now? I was just worried about your safety, He Feng quickly explained himself cautiously, worried that Su Ming would punish him because of that. Su Ming ignored He Feng. His body was falling rapidly. All sorts of thoughts flashed through his mind, and eventually, a faint glint appeared in his eyes. Immediately, the souls of wings of moon spread out from within his body. Yet the moment they came out, a mighty pressure fell upon him instantly, trapping the souls of wings of the moon within his body, causing them to be unable to come out. I can't circulate my qi, and the souls of wings of the moon can't leave my body either. This is the only way now. Su Ming activated the branding art in his mind, and a green light flashed at the center of his brows before the small virescent sword charged out. The small sword was also not faring very well under the pressure of the place when it appeared. It swayed as if it could not bear the pressure, but when Su Ming gathered all the power of the branding art on the sword, it immediately stabilized, and with a flash, it dashed underneath Su Ming's feet to support him, allowing him to step on the blade. Due to the force of the fall, the moment his feet landed on the blade, Su Ming felt as if he was crushed. The small sword only managed to dissipate some of the force, the rest was all gathered in his body. Banging sounds reverberated within him, and Su Ming's face immediately turned pale. He coughed out a mouthful of blood, and the small sword abruptly sank hundreds of feet before it slowly came to a halt. Su Ming was gasping as he stood on the small sword. He lifted his head swiftly and looked at the dark sky above him. He saw lighting flashing in the sky. During the short instance when the world was bright, he saw the faint and indistinct chain swaying above him. I haven't finished challenging the chain, Su Ming mumbled. He was wearing a black robe, but the hood had flown off when he was falling, so he lifted it back up to cover his head once more. He then loosened the robes around his feet so that he could hide what was lifting him up. The small virescent sword slowly rose up under his will, supporting his body from the depths of the canyons as he gradually floated upwards. He returned. Within Han Mountain City, as time trickled by and innumerable thunders rumbled in the sky, occasionally, lightning would slice through the air and light up the area. It also illuminated the chain that was under the scrutiny of everyone in Han Mountain City. Similarly, the faces of the crowd standing in the city waiting were also illuminated when lightning flashed in the sky. No one felt impatient. All of them knew clearly in their hearts that there was only one explanation to the strange sight of the stone pillars not sinking. The challenge of the chains of Han Mountain had not ended. The challenger did not fail. However, they might know the reason behind it, but the people could not help but be skeptical due to everything that had happened that day. Is he really not dead? It's been a long time since then. If he's really not dead, then why hasn't he appeared? Puxiang tribe should have sent someone to look for his corpse. I wonder how they fared. The low sounds of discussions broke the silence. It had been too long. Even if the people knew the reason as to why the stone pillars had not sunk, their uncertainty grew stronger as time passed by. The elder of Tranquil East had a grave expression on his face as he stood at the edge of Tranquil East Mountain. He kept his gaze fixed on the canyon. Behind him, Fang Shen and Han Kangzi, who stood a little further away, were doing the same. This has never happened before. Is he really not dead? Soon, an hour passed by. An hour usually passed by quickly for people, but now, to these people, this hour seemed to be passing by so slowly it was as if time had been lengthened by several fold. On Pukchiang Mountain, the thin and dried-up elder sucked in a deep breath, and the grave expression on his face gradually relaxed. It has been over an hour. Perhaps something is wrong with the chains of Han Mountain, and not because the person hasn't died. What do you think? The elder of Pukchiang tribe's final sentence was directed towards the man who looked like a mountain of flesh and stood by his side. The man hesitated for a moment, looked at the sky, then looked at the canyons before he spoke slowly. It has been quite some time. There's a high chance that this person is dead. The tribe members who went down to look should have also. He did not manage to finish speaking. Suddenly, his body lurched forward and he stared fixedly at the canyons. He saw it. He was not the only one. Beside him, the expression of Pukchiang tribe's elder also changed. It was as if there was anger roaring with the might of a windstorm and giant waves within his body, ready to erupt forth at any moment as he stared into the canyons. He saw it. Besides the two of them, the other people on Pukchiang Mountain also trembled and looked into the canyons. Their expressions changed drastically because of what they saw. They saw it. Lightning flashed in the sky at that moment, and during the instant the light from the bolt of lightning illuminated the world. A person in black robes could be seen rising slowly from within Han Mountain's canyons. Cries of surprise rose from Han Mountain. The elder of Tranquil East tribe took a deep breath and a piercing glint appeared in his eyes as he stared into the canyons with a look of amazement. He too saw it. Fang Shen and Han Kangzi, who were standing by his side, had different expressions on their faces. Fang Shen was shocked, while Han Kangzi let out a huge sigh of relief. They also saw it. On Lake of Colors tribe, the old woman instinctively clenched and loosened her right hand before she clenched it again. This repeated several times, but her expression remained calm. It was as if even if she saw that shocking scene in the canyons, her emotions would not surge too much. By her side, Yan Luan was stunned for a moment when she saw what was happening in the canyons, then a brilliant light appeared in her eyes. She was about to say something when she suddenly noticed the old woman's right hand, and her heart skipped a beat. Everyone said that her power was stronger than the elders. This was true, but only Yan Luan herself knew the might of Lake of Colors elder. She also knew that the elder had a habit. When she was uncertain about something, her right hand would clench and unclench multiple times, just like now. Elder, what are you hesitating about? Yan Luan did not quite understand what was going on. Right now, this had nothing to do with Lake of Colors tribe, so why would there be anything that would make the elder so uncertain? Besides the mountains that belong to the three tribes, the entire crowd in Han Mountain City that was watching the chain also saw what was happening in the canyons. Once they saw it, the crowd burst into a shocked uproar. The waves of sounds rose and fell with such a volume that it seemed to be able to surpass the thunder rumbling in the sky. He really hasn't died. It's him. He's out. Just what is his level of cultivation? He actually managed to come out from the canyons. No one has ever managed to stay alive after falling for such a long time. This person, he really hasn't died, and he even came out from the canyons. Nan Tien took a deep breath and admiration appeared for the first time in his eyes. He looked at the canyons and mumbled under his breath. Leng Ying and Ke Ju Sis expressions also changed once they saw what was happening in the canyons. Just like Nan Tien, they came to admire this man. Powerful berserkers should be respected, and the person who walked out of the canyons especially so. Han Fei Zi stood on the white cloud in midair. The veil covered the smile that appeared on her lips. Her eyes also became much brighter compared to before. Only Zan Lun's face turned so dark his expression was like ice. He clenched his fists tightly and lowered his head, hiding the jealousy and killing intent in his eyes. Su Ming stood on the small virescent sword that was hidden by his robes and slowly rose from the canyon. He appeared in the air and before the people's eyes. After what happened, He could be said to truly be the center of everyone's attention. His every action moved the people's hearts. Even the disdain held by some when they previously watched him was gone like the wind. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he crawled out from death's door. To be able to walk out from the canyons after falling was a feat that would surely make him famous in Han Mountain. He was bound to be remembered by people even after centuries had gone by, and this incident was bound to be talked about by the people who watched what had happened on this day every time whenever someone else challenged the chains of Han Mountain in the future. It was also destined that this time, Su Ming's challenge would stun the entire Han Mountain because nothing like this had ever happened before, allowing him to achieve his goal of shocking these people. He floated up, and when Su Ming's body was at the same level as the seventh section of the chain, an even stronger outcry and uproar stirred up within Han Mountain City. Even Su Ming could hear the sounds reverberating in the city. Does he still want to continue? Just how does he look like? What's his name? He's definitely going to be chosen by Freezing Sky Clan as a disciple. Even if he doesn't continue, there's still a high chance that Freezing Sky Clan will take him in. Su Ming stood beside the seventh section of the chain amidst the buzzing sounds of discussions. He did not look at the silent Puxiang Mountain, which was connected to the chain, but lifted his foot and stepped on the chain instead. The instant he stepped on the same chain the second time, the volume of the discussions in Han Mountain City reached their peak. The people of the three tribes also looked on anxiously from their mountains. At the same time Su Ming stepped on the chain, the small Virescent sword disappeared without a trace under his feet. Su Ming stood on the seventh section of the chain and welcomed the mountain breeze. He let out a deep breath. Let's continue. Chains of Han Mountain, he mumbled. He lifted his right foot and took a step forward on the chain. As he moved, the sixth stone pillar behind him shattered and turned into a countless debris that fell into the canyons. Even now, Su Ming had not forgotten what Puxiang tribe had asked of him. Elder, please come out. Su Ming moved forward. His footsteps were not quick. He didn't want to walk through this section too quickly. Chapter 185. Refuse. After what had happened at daytime and how he had crawled back to life from death, every single one of Su Ming's actions now tugged at the heartstrings of many who were watching. They watched Su Ming walking on the seventh section of the chain. They looked at the person basked in moonlight, and for some unknown reason, the person in the air seemed to let out a lonely presence. This feeling was very faint, and since everyone's perception was different, what they saw and felt was also slightly different. Elder, please come out. Su Ming slowly walked forward. He longed and yearned to see the elder, even if it was just a glance. Before him was Puxiang Mountain, which laid behind the eighth and ninth sections of the chain. After being silent for a moment, the delicate voice that the people had heard before traveled forth. Sir, you've already failed, why do you persist? Even if you continue on, you've still failed. Your challenge has ended. The delicate voice spoke slowly, and it traveled all over the region. The instant this voice reached them, the people in Han Mountain City immediately fell silent. Even Nan Tien and the others frowned, but once Nan Tien looked at Puxiang Mountain, he chose not to speak. Su Ming ignored them and continued walking forward silently on the chain. His eyes fell on the end of the seventh section of the chain, and a hint of longing that was hidden deep within his eyes appeared. Elder, elder, he mumbled. He did not stop. At that moment, his heart jumped. He saw what other people could not see. The black mist on the chain was gathering and slowly turning into an old man's back. That back was familiar to Su Ming, and his eyes lit up with eagerness. He knew that it was fake, but if he could just see the elder even once, he would be satisfied. Your challenge has ended. You have failed. You are fortunate you didn't die. I suggest that you leave as soon as possible. If you insist on continuing, then you will be treated as challenging the might of Puxiang tribe. That delicate voice resounded once again. The voice had a velvety quality to it, but there was a hint of venom hidden within. The voice from Puxiang tribe made the entire Han Mountain City fall into silence. Almost everyone became quiet. In the face of one of the three masters of Han Mountain City, Puxiang, the visitors who came to this city had no power to resist their will. They were not the ones who set the rules, even if they wanted to change it, they were not the ones in power to do so. Even if this was slightly against the original intention set for the chains of Han Mountain, Su Ming had failed once, even if that failure was not acknowledged by the chain itself and he had risen from the canyons. However, if Puxiang tribe used this as a reason, it was difficult for them to say anything about it, nor did they have the right to say anything about it. Perhaps Nan Tian had some right to do so, but he chose to remain silent. Keju Si hesitated for a moment before he sighed. He knew that he was in Han Mountain City and he was an outsider to Puxiang tribe, that was why he did not have any right to refute their decision. Leng Ying frowned, but he also stayed silent. Zhang Lun stood in the air in the distance and loosened his clenched fist. Sadistic delight appeared in his eyes. He wanted Su Ming to refuse it, because if that was the case, then it meant he was going up against Puxiang. Zhang Lun himself did not even need to do anything, and Su Ming would be destroyed. Everyone fell silent. Han Feizi lowered her head thinking about something. Lake of Colors Mountain and Tranquil East Mountain also fell silent when they heard that delicate voice from Puxiang Mountain. The world suddenly became silent. Even thunder did not rang out. Pairs of eyes from Han Mountain City became fixated on Su Ming. The owners of these gazes wanted to know what he would choose. However, they did not know that Su Ming did not have the time to be bothered by the delicate voice. His gaze was completely captured by the old man's back that appeared from the mist. He trembled. Tears fell once again from his eyes. He looked at the old man standing not too far away, turning around slowly to look at him. Su Ming's voice became hoarse. Elder. That old man was the elder of Dark Mountain Tribe, Mo Sang. He was still wearing the same clothes as he did when Su Ming saw him last. When he saw Su Ming, a baffled look appeared on his face. There was also a hint of conflict as he looked at Su Ming with a dumbfounded expression, at the child he took care of since he was young. He looked like he was about to say something, but no sound came out. The bewilderment and conflict in his eyes were replaced by gentleness and love. There was even a hint of praise, as if he was very pleased with the current Su Ming. Very, very pleased. Su Ming looked at the elder and the tests that would not stop. No matter how much he grew, how much he learned to be indifferent, and how much he embraced solitude, no matter how many people he killed and how many things he went through, the moment he saw the elder, all of these vanished. He was still the carefree child that lived in Dark Mountain. He had Xiao Hong's companionship and the elder's love. He would wait for rain to come to collect Dark Dragon's saliva, would wait for the bonfire to burn in the tribe, and he would dance around the elder as he laughed happily. The sky then was very blue, the clouds were very white, but he could no longer recall them as clearly. Elder, I miss home. Su Ming moved forward. He wanted to get closer to look at his elder. Even if this was an illusion, he did not mind. The elder looked at Su Ming, and the gentleness in his eyes made Su Ming's heart tremble, and he could not help but see all the happy memories of his youth surfacing in his mind. When he got closer and stood before the elder formed from the mist, he cried even harder. He looked at the white-haired old man in the same clothes his elder wore in his memories. Su Ming looked at him and forced out a smile on his face. Elder, your Lisu grew up. Look, I grew much taller. The elder smiled as he looked at Su Ming. Then he sighed softly, and the gentleness in his eyes was once again replaced by conflict. Within that conflict was a hint of compassion. A hint of profoundness that Su Ming could not understand. Eventually, Su Ming saw a hint of resolution and determination on the elder's face. He saw a strange glint suddenly appearing in the elder's eyes. That glint went into Su Ming's mind, making a boom resound in his head, as if his mind trembled. At the same moment, he clearly heard the voice that only existed in his memories. Su Ming, you. Su Ming shuddered, but the moment the voice began speaking, the elder's body suddenly trembled and abruptly dissipated before the words could even be clearly heard. That mist seemed to be blown apart by a strong force that came from behind it, causing everything before Su Ming's eyes to completely disappear. The mist disappeared, the elder disappeared, and even his voice turned into a faint lingering echo in his mind, causing Su Ming to be unable to hear it clearly. But all of this was not due to him missing a step, neither was it due to something going wrong with the chains of Han Mountain. All of this was due to the strong force charging towards him at that moment. The source of that strong force was a black bone ring. That bone ring whistled as it flew out from Puxiang Mountain and charged towards Su Ming. It was the thing that shook the chain, causing the illusions from the chain that were reflected in Su Ming's eyes to disappear. Su Ming's eyes immediately turned red. He had originally learned how to remain calm and not be reckless, but there were certain things that he could not tolerate, that he absolutely refused to take lying down. The elder was among these things. The incoming bone ring dissipated the mist that turned into the elder, scattering away the beautiful and happy memories of his youth that had appeared in his heart. This scene was like when he saw the gaze that appeared when Dark Mountain was eventually shattered by a giant hand when he was walking through the blood path leading to the isolation grounds of Han Mountain's ancestor. The bone ring and its owner broke the bottom line that Su Ming refused to let anyone stain, causing him to fall into madness. He let out a roar that had not come from his mouth for a very long time. It spread through the land swiftly and blended with the thunder that rang in the sky at that very moment. It was as if his anger was the sky's anger. As he roared, Su Ming lifted his head swiftly and the shadow of the blood moon appeared in his eyes. He looked at the bone ring closing in on him and took a huge step forward. His chi surged out of his body, and as it erupted forth with astonishing power, a large amount of moonlight rapidly descended upon him. The branding art also burst forth, causing green light to flash on the center of his brows, and the small virescent sword turned into a ray of green light that gathered all the power of his chi, the shadow of the blood moon, and the branding art. Then the green light flashed. Light illuminated the sky. There was no lightning, but at that moment, the world was illuminated by green light in an instant. Thunder rumbled, and the green light charged into the incoming bone ring. The instant it touched the ring, the light cut through the ring with one slash. There was a loud crash, and the world trembled. Tremors shook the land. Su Ming coughed out a mouthful of blood and staggered backwards, but each time his feet landed, they would fall precisely on the chain. The green light dissipated and tumbled backwards into Su Ming's body. The green light only appeared for an instant from its emergence to the moment it dissipated. No one managed to see what it actually was. Before Su Ming, the black bone ring remained unmoving. A thin crack appeared on its surface, and it abruptly shattered, splitting into half before it fell into the canyons. At that moment, the man who looked like a mountain of flesh trembled furiously and coughed out a huge mouthful of blood on Pukchiang Mountain. His face instantly turned deathly pale, and the flesh on his body mysteriously shrank by a large portion. "How dare you? We've already warned you that if you continue, then you will be treated as provoking Pukchiang tribe. This is your final chance, turn back now. You have failed." The man who looked like a mountain of flesh yelled out with a weakened, venomous voice. "I refuse." Su Ming wiped off the blood at the corners of his mouth and glared at Pukchiang Mountain coldly. At that moment, he had returned to being calm. "You refuse. What right do you have to refuse? You're just an outsider in Han Mountain. The three tribes make all decisions within Han Mountain. Within 3 breaths, if you don't leave, then don't think about leaving ever again." The one who spoke this time was not the man who looked like a mountain of flesh, but another old man who stood beside the elder of Pukchiang tribe. That old man had an arrogant and wild look on his face, and his cold laughter carried contempt. The moment he spoke, the man who looked like a mountain of flesh immediately frowned. He looked as if he was about to say something, but did not voice his thoughts. As for the elder of Pukchiang tribe, he remained silent, but the freezing look in his eyes revealed his thoughts. Su Ming fell silent. Some of the people in Han Mountain City had clenched their fists. They were also outsiders in Han Mountain. Even if they had lived in Han Mountain City for many years, the city belonged to the 3 tribes. As long as they were not from the 3 tribes, then they were all outsiders. They did indeed not have any right to refute, but gradually, more people's gazes turned cold as they looked at Pukchiang tribe. Some sort of acknowledgement slowly arose within them towards Su Ming, because they were all outsiders. Nan Tian, Ke Ju Si, and Leng Ying looked at Pukchiang Mountain coldly when they heard those words, but they still chose to remain silent. Then do I have the right? Chapter 186. The Outburst in the Midst of Silence. When everyone fell silent in Han Mountain City, an old and aged voice suddenly came from Lake of Colors Mountain. That voice was a little weak, but the moment that voice appeared, it instantly broke the stillness caused by the people's silence. All their eyes gathered on Lake of Colors Mountain. Most of the people were unfamiliar with the voice that suddenly rang out. They only knew that the voice came from Lake of Colors tribe, but they did not know the identity of the person who spoke. However, there were still people who recognized the owner of the voice. Shocked expressions immediately appeared on their faces, and they whipped their heads around to look at Lake of Colors Mountain. Nan Tian's body shuddered. He had, of course, recognized the owner of the voice, and he immediately looked over. Leng Yin also sucked in a sharp breath and looked towards Lake of Colors Mountain. Keiju Si was definitely the one outsider who was feeling the most overwhelmed at that moment. He knew the identity of the person who spoke, and because he had been a guest in Lake of Colors, he also knew a secret that practically no outsider would know, the terrifying aspects of the oft-ignored Lake of Colors elder due to the rumors spread among the outsiders that the head of Lake of Colors was the tribe leader. Lake of Colors, elder. Yan Luan's expression immediately changed on Lake of Colors Mountain. She looked towards the old woman by her side. She did not expect the elder to say such words at this moment. This act would in no doubt offend Puxiang. Even with the previous attempts to repair their relationship, it would be completely broken because of this. Sometimes, killing someone for personal gain was perhaps something trivial for two small tribes, but at this moment, if she said this before all the people in Han Mountain City, then this sentence would bring about almost irreparable damage. She suddenly understood why the elder had been flexing her right hand repeatedly just now. The answer to the elder's hesitation, which she did not understand, was revealed. Could the elder have predicted that something like this would happen? That's why she was hesitant. Yan Luan took a deep breath and lowered her head. The words of Lake of Colors elder reverberated in the area, causing the signs of an outburst in Han Mountain City to begin appearing among the crowd. However, they still remained silent. On Puxiang Mountain, the expression immediately changed on the man who looked like a mountain of flesh. The sullen old man who spoke by his side was momentarily stunned and found himself at a loss for words. The elder of Puxiang tribe frowned and anger appeared in his eyes. He slowly stood up and looked towards Lake of Colors Mountain. After a long while, he uttered his words slowly. "You are the elder of Lake of Colors, of course you have the right." The moment he spoke, the ones who did not know the identity of the person in Han Mountain City immediately fell into a state of shock and amazement. However, oddly enough, they did not talk amongst themselves. Instead, they turned this shock into a force for an outburst that was about to appear in the midst of their silence. "I disagree with this," the elder of Lake of Colors tribe, the old woman who looked increasingly lethargic, said languidly. Yan Luan gritted her teeth and shouted out, "I, Yan Luan, tribe leader of Lake of Colors tribe, also disagree with this." The voices of the tribe leader and the elder were the most significant will in a tribe. Yan Luan and the elder's words symbolized the stand Lake of Colors tribe decided to take. The meaning behind their words was enough to shake the entire Han Mountain. Very well, very well. The entire Puxiang tribe was in shock. Countless Puxiang tribe's members were filled with anger, and their expressions changed. On the summit, the elder of Puxiang tribe laughed in anger, and his laughter was incredibly dark. The old man who previously spoke by his side was shivering. He had a feeling that all of this was related to what he had just said. That feeling became stronger when the man who looked like a mountain of flesh glared at him coldly. The man who looked like a mountain of flesh took a deep breath and stood up beside the elder of Puxiang tribe. He glared at Lake of Colors Mountain venomously and was just about to speak. Yet at that moment, an old and aged bark of laughter traveled forth from Tranquil East Mountain. "I disagree with this as well. I, Fang Shen, tribe leader of Tranquil East tribe, too, disagree with this." Right after the elder of Tranquil East spoke, Fang Shen's authoritative voice also reverberated in the air. "I, Han Kang Zi, disciple of Freezing Sky Clan, tribe member of Tranquil East tribe, also disagree with this." Han Kang Zi's voice had always been delicate, yet at this moment, there was a steadfast tone within that delicate voice. On Puxiang Mountain, the man who looked like a mountain of flesh staggered and his expression changed. At that moment, the people of Puxiang tribe were no longer angry, but incredibly uneasy. They had a feeling that something big was about to happen. The elder of Puxiang tribe turned pale. The anger in his eyes burned stronger. He was about to speak, when suddenly, voices came once again, this time from Han Mountain City. "I, Yan Fei from Lake of Colors tribe, disagree with Puxiang's decision. I, Nantien of the Awakening Realm of Han Mountain City, disagree. I, Keiju Si of the Awakening Realm of Han Mountain City, disagree. I, Leng Ying of Han Mountain City, disagree with Puxiang tribe's decision. Right after Lake of Colors and Tranquil East, the four voices that traveled forth from Han Mountain City finally provided the final burst of energy necessary to break the silence. Without including Han Feizi, the other three were powerful awakened berserkers. It would have been useful if only one of them spoke, but the intimidating force created when the three of them spoke in succession, while not as powerful as a small tribe, was still a force that could not be overlooked. Especially when they were also outsiders. That was enough. I, Lu Dao, Han Mountain outsider, disagree with this. I'm also an outsider in Han Mountain, even if I don't have the right, I'm also telling you, Puxiang. I disagree. I, Song Yun, an outsider, disagree with this. Roars broke out from among the silent crowd within Han Mountain City. As the voices shouted out, more and more people broke out from their silence and cried out. They broke out of their silence and opened their mouths, howling towards Puxiang Mountain. I, Luo Hai, Han Mountain outsider, disagree. I, Yan Luo, Han Mountain outsider, disagree. I, Chen Feng, outsider, disagree. I, Chao Da, also disagree. Me too. I, Chao Song, also disagree. The voices shook the sky and earth, and gradually, everyone within Han Mountain City shouted out their thoughts. The countless people within Han Mountain City cried out the same words, and their voices blended together to form an outcry that could overcome the sound of thunder. Although saying that their voices shook the sky and earth was slightly too much of an exaggeration, it could still cause alarm to Puxiang tribe. The voices rumbled and shook the region, as if it could drown Puxiang tribe in a wave of sound, causing all the people on Puxiang Mountain to turn pale with terror and disbelief. The man who looked like a mountain of flesh did not speak for a long time on the mountain. He had not expected for things to turn out this way. This was no longer something that was solely related to the challenger of the chain. This was a surprise attack launched against them by all the people in Han Mountain City, along with Lake of Colors and Tranquil East. It was something of such epic proportions that could overturn the entire Puxiang tribe. This was blatant animosity. If they did not handle this with care, then they might even bring doom upon themselves. He was afraid. This fear even turned into terror. This is a conspiracy. This must be a conspiracy that was planned a long time ago. The man who looked like a mountain of flesh whipped his head around to look at the elder. The elder's face was pale. This had long since exceeded his expectations, and just like the man who looked like a mountain of flesh, he too, absolutely did not expect things to turn out this way. Elder, please make a decision quickly. The man that looked like a mountain of flesh was brimming with anxiety. He saw that the people around them were already overcome by terror, and their tribe members were crying out in fear. The shouts of disagreement traveled from outside, growing stronger to the volume of thunder, causing them to feel shocked and terrified. Even though only some of the people who shouted were awakened berserkers, even though most of those who cried out were only at the blood solidification realm, and some were even like ants in their eyes. Elder. When the man who looked like a mountain of flesh saw that the elder still remained unmoving, he whipped his head around to look at the old man who had spoken rashly in his panic. The old man trembled. He had felt that something bad was about to happen to him, and when he saw the tribe leader turning to look at him, the old man instinctively backed down. A sense of death looming over his head abruptly rose within him, and right at the moment the man who looked like a mountain of flesh moved and charged towards him, the old man quickly withdrew, a shrill cry tumbling out of his mouth. I'm the chief of the hunters. Even if you're the tribe leader, you can't apprehend me because of one sentence. Even if the old man was running, the man who looked like a mountain of flesh had already closed in on him. Elder, I contributed to the tribe. I'm one of the leaders in the tribe. The old man was terrified. Even as he retreated, no one came forth to help him. All of them were silent and watched as the man who looked like a mountain of flesh closed in on him and seized him with his right hand. You forced my hand. When the old man saw that he was cornered, hatred and viciousness immediately appeared on his face. He did not want to die. He was just about to launch a desperate attack when the elder who had been staying silent all this while turned around at this moment. Stop. His voice was not great, but it was filled with authority, causing the man who looked like a mountain of flesh to flinch. Once he descended to the ground, he looked at the elder anxiously. The old man also let out a huge sigh of relief. He also looked at the elder with anxiousness and uncertainty. The chief of hunters has contributed to the tribe. The elder of Pukchiang tribe was passive, and no emotion could be seen on his face, be it happiness or anger. As he spoke, he walked forward. But, elder, the man who looked like a mountain of flesh was just about to speak, but his words were cut off by the elder. Not only did he contribute to the tribe, he's also loyal to the tribe. How can we condemn him because of one sentence? I cannot do something like this, the elder said languidly as he continued walking forward. Only then did the old man completely relax. Sweat beaded on his forehead and gratitude appeared in his eyes as he looked at the elder. He wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed towards him. He is loyal, and even if the tribe is in danger of destruction, he would not run for his own life. He would live for the tribe, and die for the tribe. Is that not so, chief of the hunters? As the elder spoke, he was already 30 feet away from the old man. As long as the tribe is here, then I will be here. If the tribe is in danger, then I won't live either, the old man quickly said. The elder came within 10 feet from the old man and spoke languidly. If that is the case, then I will fulfill your wish. Thank you for all that you've done for the tribe. The moment his words came out, the old man was dumbfounded, then his expression drastically changed. Just as he was about to run away, the elder lifted his right hand and swung it abruptly. The chief of the hunters immediately let out a pained scream, and bundles of black mist instantly surrounded his body. He trembled, and his body was enveloped by the mist before it charged out of Pukchiang Mountain. In the blink of an eye, he was brought above the howling Han Mountain City. Chapter 187, It's him. This person intentionally said such words because he is a spy from another tribe. He is here to sow discord between Pukchiang and Han Mountain, and this alone is a crime punishable by death. I will personally end this person's life, and will agree to the continuation of the challenge. As the old and aged voice of the elder of Pukchiang tribe reverberated in the air, the person who was enveloped by the black mist above Han Mountain City burst apart with a bang and a shrill cry, turning into pieces of flesh and blood. Before he even fell down, he turned into wisps of black mist that disappeared into the air. Wind was blowing, and it took away the stench of blood that filled the air in the city, causing the angered people in Han Mountain City to gradually calm down. Su Ming stood on the 7th section of the chain and turned around to look at Han Mountain City, then he wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed deeply in the city's direction. When he bowed, he immediately caused the crowd who became calm in Han Mountain City to let out shocked cries once again. Sir, you have to finish walking through the entire chain. Walk through the 9th section and fight for all us outsiders in Han Mountain. Go on, we're all watching you, please, walk forward. Go to Pukchiang Mountain and complete your challenge. Enter Freezing Sky Clan and give us fellow outsiders hope. The voices that rose one after another were different from before. At that moment, all their words were filled with encouragement and hope. To them, the challenger, Su Ming, was no longer a stranger. He was the symbol of their hope and the representative of all the outsiders in Han Mountain. Brother, you have to complete the challenge. Once you return, I will prepare a feast. Let's hook arms and have a toast. Nan Tian's boisterous voice reverberated in the air. The admiration in his eyes had seeped into his invitation as he spoke. Count me in. Leng Ying's face was still cold and detached, but there was the ghost of a smile on his lips at that moment. Don't exclude me in this. Brother Nan, you'll have to bring out the drunken flower wine you have this time. When Keiju Sis' laughter appeared, it caused the voices coming out from within Han Mountain City to be stronger. That can be easily arranged. I'll definitely take it out. Nan Tian laughed heartily. Zhang Lun's face turned darker. He stood in the distance and did not say a word. Su Ming heard all of their words. He lifted his head and looked at Han Mountain for a long while before he turned around and walked towards the 7th stone pillar at the end of the 7th section of the chain. He no longer saw his elder on the chain. The girl that was hidden deep within his heart too, did not appear. Su Ming did not want to think what this signified. He could not tell himself calmly that everything on the chain was fake. He was no longer certain. Amidst the discussions and excited hollers from outside, Su Ming moved forward silently until he completed the 7th section of the chain and stood on the 7th stone pillar. At that moment, the sky was starting to brighten up. He could see dark clouds still covering most parts of the sky, including the light, casting the world in dimness. The 8th section. Su Ming did not stop to rest on the 7th stone pillar. He lifted his foot instead and stepped on the 8th section of the chain. He still did not see the girl he hoped to see the moment he stepped on the chain. It was clouded before him, but he was already very close to Puxiang Mountain. He could even see the people on Puxiang Mountain glaring at him coldly. Su Ming felt the pressure formed by age and time when he walked on the 8th section on the chain. It was the feeling of a lot of his life force being sucked away with each step he took. Even if he circulated his qi, it was becoming harder for him to persist as he walked on. Fatigue filled Su Ming's entire body. Once he moved 100 feet forward, his breathing was ragged and harsh. He could even feel age sweeping by on his body in his fatigue, taking away his life force, his strength, his vitality. It was as if he was aging slowly in the face of time. In fact, he had the feeling that once he became old, he would turn into ashes and scatter away. Is this the mystery of the 8th section of the chain? Time is passing so quickly that before anyone can embrace it, it's already over. Su Ming continued moving forward. He had no idea how much time passed. When the world gradually escaped from darkness, he looked at his hand. Wrinkles had appeared on his skin, and he no longer looked like a young man, but an old person. At that moment, he was only halfway through the 8th section of the chain. The other half left was swaying in the air, and seemed like it was rocking away time, making people feel that they could not keep time by their side even if they noticed it leaving. As the world brightened up and morning arrived, the elder of Puxiang tribe and the others glared coldly at Su Ming, who was already very close to them on the chain. Their gazes turned chilling. Su Ming lifted his head to look at Puxiang Mountain, which was lightening up in the sun. He saw the cold gazes and fell into pensive silence for a moment. I can't go over. If I can't cancel out the power of time, even if I walk to the end of the 8th section, I'll still lose all of my life force and die. Then I might as well not hide anymore. A bright sparkle appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He slowly lifted his head to look at the cloud-covered sky, and blood veins surfaced on his body rapidly. They appeared first on his face. In an instant, many blood veins appeared on the face that he hid underneath the hood. The blood veins were like a totem that formed a strange picture. At the same time, a shocking, powerful presence erupted forth from his body. The moment the presence appeared, the dark clouds in the sky seemed to change, showing signs of tumbling backwards. The elder and the others on Puxiang Mountain were the first to notice this. As the elder's pupils shrank and the expression of the man who looked like a mountain of flesh changed instantly, all the people on Puxiang Mountain felt a wave of restlessness come over them that stemmed from the blood veins in their bodies. It was an impulse that they could not control. Under the robes, Su Ming's upper torso and his arms were covered in many blood veins in an instant, and the astonishing presence continued growing. A much stronger presence erupted forth with a loud crash. Having his blood veins circulate in his body while they were hidden and having them circulate while they were completely manifested on his body was different. If he circulated them within his body, he would be using his own qi, but if he manifested them on his body, then his qi would be connected to the heavens and earth, and the strongest power he could muster would burst forth. Su Ming had concealed his blood veins within his body all this while. Right then, he no longer hid them, but chose to completely manifest them. As the astonishing qi within his body grew stronger, cries of surprise and uproars resounded from Puxiang Mountain. On the mountain, besides the elder, even the man who looked like a mountain of flesh was also in a state of shock. At that moment, the same memory appeared in their minds, the incredible event that caused the weather to change a few months ago in Han Mountain. The elder of Puxiang tribe may have seemed calm, but there was a fierce storm raging in his heart, in a manner that was not at all weaker than the wrath he showed the people just now. He is. Disbelief appeared in the elder's eyes. There was even a hint of shock within them. He suddenly realized that while he had already viewed this person highly since the beginning, but now, it turned out that it was not enough, he still underestimated him. Fear rose inside the elder of Puxiang tribe. He suddenly understood that Puxiang's greatest mistake was not in inciting the wrath of the crowd in Han Mountain, or Lake of Colors and Tranquil East, but that they did not see through this person. Completion of the blood solidification realm. The elder of Puxiang tribe staggered a few steps back, and his face turned pale. The moment he mumbled out his words, Su Ming's legs were covered by dense blood veins. Even if his blood veins were hidden under the robes, a power of qi so incredible it shook the heavens and earth was surging forth from his body. It made the color of the sky change, the clouds tumble, made the wind in the area still. The world turned dark. Su Ming lifted his head. At that moment, the dark clouds were tumbling in the sky, just like the strange phenomenon that had happened a few months ago. The deity statue of awakening was about to descend upon Han Mountain once again. At the same time, red lines appeared out of thin air above Su Ming. The red lines were mere illusions, but the moment they appeared, they started gathering together rapidly. In a few moments, a gigantic figure of hundreds of feet appeared in the air above Su Ming. That person did not have a face, only the contour of its countenance. The contour was formed by the 979 blood veins. The moment it appeared, the presence of a berserker who attained completion during the blood solidification realm on Su Ming reached its peak. It's him. Completion in the blood solidification realm, 979 blood veins, only one more, and he'll attain the great completion that's only spoken in legends. Such a person is challenging Puxiang tribe's chain, and we even wanted to plot against him just now. On Puxiang Mountain, when the man who looked like a mountain of flesh saw the giant formed from blood veins hovering above Su Ming, he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Shock replaced all other emotions on his face. The others behind him were all dumbfounded, their expressions saying that they could not conceive what was happening before them. Yan Luan sucked in a breath on Lake of Colors Mountain. She was shaken, and shock appeared on her face. She did not expect that the chain's challenger would be the person who appeared a few months ago. I can't believe, it's him. Beside her, a healthy red hue replaced the lethargic look on the old woman's face. She looked at Su Ming and at the person above him, and a brightness that was never seen before appeared in her eyes. Tranquil East Mountain burst into an earth-shattering uproar. The elder of Tranquil East instinctively took a few steps back. His expression changed and eventually settled on shock. If he was in this state, then it was even more so for Fang Shen, who stood beside him. Fang Shen was already completely stunned. Only Han Kangzi appeared excited as she trembled. Han Mountain City fell into momentary silence before shouts filled with excitement and surprise broke out from within the city. The manifested blood veins on Su Ming's body stirred up a drastic change that made them all mystified. Han Feizi trembled and her breathing quickened. Nan Tian, Ke Ju Si, and Leng Ying were stunned, and only wrapped their heads around what had happened after a long while. Their gazes as they looked towards Su Ming were no longer of admiration, but respect. 979 blood veins, he just needs one more, and he'll attain great completion. If he awakens during great completion, his power can rival those in the middle stage of awakening, and he can even hold his own with an ordinary berserker in the later stage of the awakening realm. This person, if he awakens during great completion, then the strongest in Han Mountain City and the 3 tribes will be him. He'll be able to massacre an entire tribe on his own if he so wishes. I know why he didn't choose to awaken a few months ago. He wants to manifest that one more blood vein. I'm guessing that he chose to challenge the chains of Han Mountain to use that as a shock to gain one more blood vein. Chapter 188, Great Completion. The crowd's opinions varied. Discussions and uproars that shook the sky rose among them. The challenge of the chains of Han Mountain this time made all those paying attention feel as if their emotions were surging like waves, and they could not help it. Whether it was Su Ming's failure and fall, or his subsequent rise from the canyons, or even the words that came from Puxiang that eventually sparked the anger and outcries of disagreements that broke the silence that seemed to be still lingering in their ears, all of these made them excited, made their hearts surge with waves of emotions. However, compared to these, the shock they felt at the moment completely overcame all that they previously felt. The sight that unfolded before them was of a person with his head lifted towards the sky on the chain and a giant above them, catching all their attention. 979 blood veins. This was something that most people could not see in their lives. It was also something that most people could not do in their lives. As the clouds tumbled in the sky, the sight that had appeared a few months ago surfaced in their hearts, and one of the two great mysterious people that was the center of all topics in Han Mountain City appeared before their eyes. That emotion was too difficult to describe with words, only shock could be marginally used to describe it. On Pukchiang Mountain, the elder of Pukchiang tribe was deathly pale. His mind was in turmoil, and he lost all ability to think. All the things that had happened during that one day made him feel helpless. First it was Han Mountain bells chimes that caused the fog protecting their mountain to scatter, then it was the catastrophe that almost fell upon them. They had just managed to escape from it by a hair's breadth, and he was looking at the person who brought the disaster on their heads with a cold, murderous look, when he suddenly realized that the person who was the source of the calamity only needed one more blood vein before he attained full completion right before his eyes. Even if the three tribes banded together, they still could not provoke a person like this, much less him alone. If such a person manifested one more blood vein and awakened, he could surpass all the powerful berserkers in the middle stage of the awakening realm. There was no way Pukchiang tribe would dare to provoke such a person. When he thought back on their plots against this person as they tried to prevent him from continuing the challenge, it made a strong sense of fear grow within the elder's heart. He wanted to use the chains of Han Mountain as a shock to himself so that he could gain one more blood vein, and we were deliberately making things difficult for him. Once he succeeds, the elder of Pukchiang tribe mumbled, and anguish rose within his heart. No wonder he had dared to snatch what belonged to Sir Sima. He has the right to do so. The man who looked like a mountain of flesh took a deep breath and immediately took a few steps forward to stand at the edge of the mountain. He forced out a smile and wrapped his fist in his palm before bowing deeply towards Su Ming, who was standing on the 8th section of the chain. I am Quang Zhong Ning, tribe leader of Pukchiang tribe. Greetings, sir. I hope you will forgive our previous transgressions. It is our honor that you chose our tribe's chain. We will all wait here and hope that you will be able to gain one more blood vein. When your name sounds through all of South Morning, our tribe will be honored as well. The man's voice was very sincere and his face was filled with reverence as he bowed 3 times in succession. The elder of Pukchiang tribe remained silent for a moment before he bowed deeply towards Su Ming. I am Quang Bei Xing, elder of Pukchiang tribe. Greetings, sir. When they saw their tribe leader and elder doing so, the other leaders of Pukchiang tribe standing behind them also bowed in reverence. Su Ming cast a glance at the elder and tribe leader on Pukchiang Mountain. He did not speak. When he manifested all his blood veins, he had already speculated that this would happen. If the elder and tribe leader of a middle-sized tribe did not have this sort of resolution and forbearance, they would have long since been replaced by someone else. Yet he was short on time. As the clouds tumbled in the sky, Su Ming felt the urge to awaken that had been suppressed within his body, showing signs of running out of control. He might awaken at any moment. I will awaken at Pukchiang Mountain today. Defend me, and I will forgive all your previous transgressions, he stated languidly. The elder and tribe leader of Pukchiang tribe immediately lifted their heads. Shock appeared on their faces, but it was quickly replaced by a solemn expression as they nodded their heads and obeyed. Sir, worry not, I can also defend you. Please awaken without worry, I will not agree to anyone disturbing you. The old woman's voice came from Lake of Colors Mountain. Her voice might be old and aged, but there was strength in it, and a hint of steadfastness. I, Yan Luan, will also defend you. Please awaken without worry. I, Fang Zhen, elder of Tranquil East tribe, wish that you can increase your blood veins once again and reach the awakening realm when you have attained great completion. This is a major event for all the 3 tribes in Han Mountain. I will also defend you. Please awaken without worry. I, Fang Shen, tribe leader of Tranquil East tribe, am willing to defend you. I, Nan Tian, am willing to defend you. Please, do not worry. I, Keju Si, am willing to defend you. Me too. I've never seen a berserker who attained great completion awakening. Today, I, Leng Ying, will defend you. At the same moment, waves of sound stirred up in the crowd in Han Mountain City. Those waves were from numerous people telling Su Ming respectfully in declaration that they were willing to defend him. Gradually, The entire world seemed to be filled with the echoing waves of sounds, which turned into an earth-shattering statement. "We are willing to defend you." Su Ming stood on the chain and rapped his fist as thanks towards all those around him. Then he took an abrupt step forward as his chi in his entire body circulated and turned into a blood-red light that illuminated the sky. The blood-red light shone out from within his body. The apparition of a giant above him was also glowing with red light, causing the entire region to be dyed in an impressive shade of red at that very moment. As his chi circulated, Su Ming also activated the branding art and entered fine control, causing each step he took to be his most powerful step. Due to his chi, the absorption of his life force gradually balanced out on the chain. With each step, the red light flickered on Su Ming's body. He had already traversed half of the 8th section of the chain. With all his chi in motion, his speed increased. Eventually, he was practically not looking at the chain under his feet as he moved forward, but each time he took a step, his feet would land precisely on the chain. After the time it takes to burn an incense stick, when Su Ming stood on the 8th stone pillar, there was only one final section left before he reached Pukchiang Mountain. It was also at that moment that, due to the continuous circulation of chi as he walked forward, the mighty presence coming out from within his body increased once again with a loud bang. Su Ming expected this increase. It was already very difficult for him to suppress the urge to awaken. He didn't have any further thoughts of suppressing it again. Today, he would finish challenging the chains of Han Mountain. Today, he would awaken. A flash of shocking red light appeared on the forehead of the muddled face covered by blood veins belonging to the giant formed by blood veins. The 980th blood vein appeared. The moment the blood vein appeared, the sky rumbled incessantly. The layers of clouds tumbled as if there was a pair of hands that reached deep within them and split them apart forcefully. As the clouds were torn apart, sunlight fell on the earth clearly and gathered on Su Ming's body. At the same time, a twisted apparition appeared in the sky. The scene that occurred in Han Mountain a few months ago appeared once again. This was the sign that the deity statue of awakening was about to manifest. This symbolized that before long, the deity statue of awakening would descend upon them once more. The sky rumbled incessantly. A large amount of clouds were ripped apart. A gentle light fell upon the entire world. The earth trembled slightly. A strong, imposing pressure accumulated in the sky. It had yet to fall upon people, but it was enough to make them feel shaken. Su Ming jolted. There was also a blood vein gathering on his forehead. That blood vein laid diagonally as if it penetrated his entire face. Once it appeared, he could clearly feel a boom that could shake the sky and earth within his body. No one else could hear that sound. Only he could. As the boom resounded, he felt strong. He could feel a vague calling in the sky. In fact, at that moment, he felt that all the people around him, even all the powerful awakened berserkers, were giving him a distinct sense that they were all weak. It was even more so for those in the blood solidification realm. Su Ming had an impression that with just one thought, he could make all the blood veins leave the bodies of those still in the blood solidification realm. As for those in the awakening realm, they were no longer powerful in his eyes. Only the presence of a berserker in the middle stage of the awakening realm coming from each of the 3 tribes could make Su Ming pay slight attention to them. This is the great completion in the blood solidification realm. Su Ming closed his eyes before he reopened them slowly, no longer suppressing the urge to awaken. He lifted his foot and moved towards the 9th section of the chain. 980 blood veins. The elder of Pukchiang tribe trembled. He no longer harbored any antagonistic thoughts towards Su Ming, who stood on the stone pillar before him. There was only deep reverence within him. Great completion of the blood solidification realm. This is the first time I see someone like this. Berserkers who can attain great completion like this should be rare in the entire land of South Morning. There was a frenzied look in the eyes of the tribe leader of Pukchiang tribe. All berserkers worship the powerful. The person before him was definitely someone who could awaken. Once he awakened, then he would in no doubt be the strongest person in the entire region in Han Mountain. On Tranquil East Mountain, the elder's breathing quickened. He had already came to a conclusion that this person was somehow connected to Sima Xin, perhaps something like destiny. The elder of Tranquil East did not dare speculate. It did not matter whether it was Mosu or Sima Xin, he could not freely form speculations about them. However, it was his belief that if Mo Su entered Freezing Sky Clan and returned to Han Mountain once again, he would be a presence that was akin to the blazing sun. Fang Shen was thrilled. He knew that his son, Fang Mu, could truly be cured. Mo Su did not lie to him. He attained great completion. The old woman looked at the chains of Han Mountain on Lake of Colors Mountain, then at Han Fei Zi, who stood in the distance, and a strange glint appeared in her eyes. Fei I've already prepared everything for you. Whether you succeed or not once you enter Freezing Sky Clan will depend on your luck. As the power in the sky gathered together, when the crowd in Han Mountain City saw the 980th blood vein appear on Su Ming's body, all sounds of discussions and uproars died. Their gazes spoke of everything in their thoughts. Great completion of the blood solidification realm. It was also at this moment that Han Mountain Bell, which was located by the side of the stone gate connecting the third and second layer, let out a faint and muffled bell chime even though no one touched it. Chapter 189. The Envoys from Freezing Sky. The 9th section of the chain was the final section of the entire chain of Han Mountain. It was connected to Pukchiang Mountain. If he stood there, he could see all the details on Pukchiang Mountain clearly. Su Ming took a step forward. The moment his foot landed on the 9th section of the chain, a loud boom echoed in his body once again. This time, however, he was not the only one who heard the boom. That sound also reverberated in the air. This was a sign that another blood vein was about to manifest as his blood veins clashed against each other in his body in a strange manner. The sound may not have been loud, but it made the elder and tribe leader standing on Pukchiang Mountain, along with all those who heard it, to be shocked. It was as if their blood veins were stirring up due to the boom and started appearing one by one on their bodies. The feeling of time spreading out from the 9th section of the chain was incredibly shocking, causing Su Ming to be unable to move fast. He moved forward, and once he covered 2/10 of the 9th section, a jolt ran through his entire body. The booming sounds inside his body were growing stronger, reaching a volume that shook the heavens and earth. Amidst the dense blood veins covering the chest of the blood-red giant above him, another blood vein appeared once again. The 981st vein. Su Ming lifted his head and looked at the clear sky. His eyes, which were hidden underneath the hood, were sparkling brightly. By revealing that he had attained completion of the blood solidification realm when he climbed the chains of Han Mountain, not only could he amaze the people, as per his goal, he could also use this method to increase his power as he walked through the chains of Han Mountain. The elders of the 3 tribes and the other leaders had guessed that Su Ming wanted to use the chains of Han Mountain to increase his blood veins, but they did not manage to speculate that Su Ming had a second goal. Su Ming took in a deep breath. Mountain breeze blew against his face, causing him to feel as if his breathing had stilled. Even if he managed to suck in a breath into his mouth, it was difficult for him to inhale it. The chain swayed under his feet. With each swing, it would feel as if time itself was surging like waves. 981 blood veins, it's still not enough, Su Ming mumbled and moved forward once again. He had no idea how those who managed to walk through the 9th section of the chain did it. He could sense that the speed at which the chain was absorbing his life force was so quick that even a berserker in the awakening realm would find it hard to counter it. Even if they managed to walk through it, their vitality would suffer greatly. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He walked forward and the distance between him and Pukchiang Mountain continuously shrank. The presence emitting forth from his body grew once again after the time it takes to burn an incense stick. This time, the additional blood vein also appeared on his chest. As it was reflected on the giant above him, all the people in the area saw the 982nd blood vein appearing abruptly on Su Ming's body. Uproars broke out in the area. Han Mountain City was seething with excitement. All the people from the 3 tribes stood on the 3 mountains gazing upon Su Ming standing on the 9th section of the chain with a respectful look. 982 blood veins. If he finishes walking through the 9th section, just how many blood veins will he manage to obtain? I've never seen a berserker attaining great completion in the blood solidification realm before. Could he be trying to create a miracle and challenge himself to achieve the one state that was considered rare even during the time of the ancients, 1,000 blood veins? 1,000 blood veins. I've heard about an old saying, those who awaken with 1,000 blood veins will be the strongest among all below the bone sacrifice realm. Discussions were rife in the air. but the elders and tribe leaders were silent, their faces filled with reverence towards Su Ming. Su Ming continued walking down the chain. He could sense his own might. As his blood veins increased, even if it was just by one blood vein, it felt as if he had taken a gigantic leap forward in his path, making him realize clearly that he had total control over a certain power. That power was the power of the chi from all 982 blood veins. It was a power that was unique to all berserkers who attained great completion of the blood solidification realm. He would even occasionally look at the sky. The clouds had been ripped apart and in their place was a layer of mist. That mist was not as thick as the clouds, but it was filled with a majestic presence. The deity statue of awakening was rapidly materializing in the sky. Once it appeared again, it would mean that Su Ming needed to awaken. "I've finally chosen to awaken." Su Ming looked at the mist tumbling in the sky with a conflicted expression. He lifted his foot and walked forward along the chain slowly. Walking on the chain was akin to walking on the passages of time. However, the memories of his life when he was in Dark Mountain surfaced in his mind. How many years had it been? Perhaps it had been 4 to 5 years, perhaps it was longer. Su Ming could not tell himself with certainty just how many years it had been. The memories of the confusion and sorrow when he initially arrived in the land of South Morning, and when he laid on the mountainside crying as he looked at the sky at a loss were still fresh in his mind. The already mighty presence within Su Ming's body increased once again, and there were 983 blood veins on the giant above him now. The 983 blood veins glowed with a bright red light that lit up the sky and pierced into the eyes of all those watching. A mighty pressure that could make all those in the blood solidification realm tremble erupted forth from Su Ming's body. All those who were in the blood solidification realm within Han Mountain City and the 3 tribes started shivering faintly under this pressure, as if they were about to lose control of their bodies and were going to fall down to their knees to worship. This was the subjugation of blood veins. It was also something that would only appear once a berserker attained great completion of the blood solidification realm, a subjugation of a level equivalent to those in the awakening realm. During the first time he saw Jing Nan, the very first time he saw a powerful berserker in the awakening realm, Su Ming's heart had been overwhelmed by shock and eagerness. The seed of desire to become a powerful awakened berserker was sown in his heart since that time and been growing ever since. "I want to awaken. I want to be a powerful berserker in the awakening realm," Su Ming mumbled. This was his most straightforward wish at that time, to become a powerful awakened berserker and protect his tribe. Yet now, sorrow appeared on Su Ming's face. He was close to awakening, so close that he could awaken at any moment. However, he could no longer find the desire to awaken in hopes to protect his tribe. His sorrow melted into the presence emanating from his body, making the people sink into an indescribable state of depression, causing the commotion in the area to become silent. As Su Ming walked, his blood veins increased by 1 again, and he now had 984 blood veins. The existence of 984 blood veins caused Su Ming to be covered densely by blood veins, as if every inch of his skin was occupied. The sky rumbled, thunder roared, lightning continued crackling in the sky. The mist that covered the sky gathered together and the contour of the deity statue of awakening appeared. The instant the statue's contour appeared, its might descended upon everyone. All the living beings on the land felt their hearts shaken to the core at that moment. Su Ming continued walking, and the image of Bai Tu, the elder of Black Mountain tribe, surfaced in his mind. This was the second awakened berserker he saw. Su Ming even had the feeling that Bai Tu was stronger than Jing Nan. Bai Tu's strength came from his power in the awakening realm. The strange berserker arts he'd casted, their fierce battle against each other had caused Su Ming to feel powerless time and again, and his desire to awaken had increased. Booming sounds came from within Su Ming, and the 985th blood vein manifested. The shocking speed made all those who saw show expressions of disbelief. Even Nan Tian and the others, including Han Feizi, found it hard to hide the shock in their eyes. They suddenly understood once again why Su Ming chose not to awaken all those months ago. He was not pleased with the number of blood veins he had. He wanted to obtain more. With 985 blood veins, he could call himself a berserker who attained great completion in the blood solidification realm, yet with each individual increase of 1 more blood vein once he attained great completion, his strength once he awakened would also increase. The difference that existed between him and those who awakened would also be gigantic. Su Ming walked forth silently. He felt as if he had returned to the moment when he first arrived in Han Mountain City, had returned to the time when he first saw Hefeng and Han Feizi. At that time, he had absolutely not expected that he would one day become Hefeng's master, much less cross hands with Han Feizi and from then on become entangled with her. Elder, do you know? Your Le Su is about to awaken, he's about to draw his own berserker mark. How would my berserker mark look like? Su Ming mumbled as he took another step, another blood vein manifesting on his skin. The 986th vein. By then, Su Ming had walked through most of the 9th section of the chain. There was not even 1,000 feet away between him and Puxiang Mountain. Not only could Su Ming see the faces of those standing on the summit, the elder of Puxiang tribe and the others could also see Su Ming's robes clearly. The elder of Puxiang tribe lowered his head in reverence. By his side, the tribe leader also lowered his head as if he was waiting for Su Ming's arrival. At the moment, the sky was illuminated by blood light. Thunder rumbled above. The deity statue of awakening was materializing slowly, becoming whole from just being a mere outline. The domineering might became stronger and covered the entire land. It was also at that moment that a sudden bright light came from Lake of Colors tribe. That light was white. If it were during normal times, the light would not garner much attention as it was also daylight, but since the world was illuminated in red, when the white light shone, it immediately became glaringly obvious. The light caught a lot of people's attention, but only a handful people knew the source of the light. Relocation. The elder of Tranquil East was stunned. He cast a glance at the tribe leader, and they saw the uncertainty in each other's eyes. Puxiang tribe was similarly swathed in uncertainty. Even Lake of Colors tribe was also uncertain. The old woman turned her head around swiftly and looked towards the location where the light was shining. That was the center of the summit of Lake of Colors Mountain. There was a gigantic picture carved on the ground over there. Elder, that relocation rune can only be used by Freezing Sky Clan, could it be? Yan Luan looked towards the old woman. The old woman remained silent for a moment before she nodded. However, right at the moment the relocation light appeared, it was instantly crushed into mere fragments of light by the domineering pressure formed by the deity's statue of awakening that appeared in the sky. The fragments scattered away. At the same time, in the sky above a remote mountain 10,000 li away from Han Mountain City, a loud boom suddenly resounded in the sky. A white light came out of nowhere and turned into a complex picture that burst apart. 3 people walked out of the white light, looking like a right mess. What happened in Han Mountain City? There's something interfering with the power of relocation. It could only transfer us here. The leader of the 3 people was an old man in white. His eyes were sparkling with an intimidating might. At that moment, he was frowning as he looked towards Han Mountain City. The 2 people by his side were a man and a woman respectively. The 2 of them were in their 30s. They were extraordinarily good-looking, and what was more, they were berserkers in the awakening realm. The person who spoke was the younger man. Chapter 190. It must be Junior Sister. The relocation rune in Lake of Colors tribe was drawn based on the 4-dimensional layer relocation art. The rune was given by the elder of Lake of Colors once she fully explored its structures and gave it to the left preceptor. The frame is placed in 2 locations. We've tried it numerous times before, there shouldn't be anything wrong with it, the woman from among the 3 people said languidly. Her voice had a gentle tone, but she was frowning, similarly not understanding what went wrong. We'll know if we go and take a look. If it's because of Lake of Colors tribe, then we must tell the head preceptor that the relocation rune still can't be used widely in the land of South Morning. Leader Lu, what do you say? The man with the extraordinarily good looks looked at the silent old man by his side with a respectful face. The woman too, immediately turned towards the old man and bowed as a sign of respect. The both of you are acting as the school's envoys in Han Mountain City this time. I am only going there to meet my friends. You are free to make your own decisions, the old man said calmly, smiling faintly. The man nodded and obeyed respectfully. He looked the woman in the eye, and just as he was about to speak, the old man suddenly frowned. He took a scrutinizing look into the distance, and a grave expression appeared on his face. Wait, Before you left for Han Mountain City, the left preceptor only gave one position and told you to receive Yan Fei of Lake of Colors tribe into the school, is that so? The old man's expression became even more solemn as he spoke slowly. The man and the woman were both stunned. The woman quickly nodded, but there was uneasiness on her face. Before she came, she had not regarded this task with much importance, simply thinking it was just a small task of taking away a disciple where no unexpected events would happen. It might have been decided that Han Feizi was someone close to attaining completion in the blood solidification realm, but she was joining Freezing Sky Clan on her own free will. The issue of having to force her to join was non-existent. However, when her junior fellow disciple was about to be relocated, the old man before them suddenly approached them and activated the relocation rune with them. This was not something they could refuse, neither did they have the right to refuse, much less dare to do so. The old man's family name was Lu. In Freezing Sky Clan, his post may not be as high as the left preceptor, but he had high seniority. He was usually rather eccentric, but lived alone in a mountain. He might be one of the people in Freezing Sky Clan, but in truth, he did not bother with anything within Freezing Sky Clan. It was almost as if he was temporarily living in the school. Sometimes, he would be very gentle, but there were also times when he would be terrifyingly sullen. Even the left preceptor in Freezing Sky Clan had to wrap his fist in his palm and call this old man Sept granduncle. There were some rumors regarding this old man within Freezing Sky Clan. All of these rumors would make those who heard them feel shaken and not dare to act rashly before this old man. However, oddly enough, the old man's level of cultivation remained at the bone sacrifice realm and seemed to not have changed at all over the years. When the old man asked the question, not only was the woman uneasy, the man beside her also became worried. They did not know the meaning behind the old man's sudden words. "What is the last power?" the old man asked once again. "Leader Lu, by the indications from the left preceptor, the woman's power is near completion of the blood solidification realm. Once we take her into the school, the left preceptor will take her in as his disciple," the man immediately said respectfully. "Taking her in as his disciple? Your left preceptor has discovered a real gem this time." The old man seemed to have felt something as he looked into the distance. "If I'm correct, then the relocation was offset because the deity statue of awakening has appeared in Han Mountain City." A strange light appeared in the old man's eyes. The moment his words appeared, the man and the woman's expressions instantly changed, and they whipped their heads towards the direction of Han Mountain City. The deity statue of awakening. The woman took in a sharp breath and felt shaken. She knew clearly of the implications behind the appearance of the deity statue of awakening. Even within Freezing Sky Clan, berserkers who could summon the deity statue when they awakened were still a rare sight. No wonder the Lord Left Preceptor regards this woman so highly. She managed to summon the deity statue of awakening before she even joined Freezing Sky Clan. Once she joins the school, her status will definitely be different. The man was shocked, and thoughts of becoming acquainted with Yan Fei appeared in his mind. Unless there is another berserker who attained completion of the blood solidification realm in Han Mountain City right now, then the lass you are about to receive has just reached a breakthrough. The old man shook his head and seemed to be rather moved by what was happening as he walked forward. There's no way two berserkers who attained completion of the blood solidification realm would appear in Han Mountain City so coincidentally. Fellow sister Han Feizi must have summoned the deity statue of awakening. A faint smile appeared on the man's face as he followed behind the old man. Once fellow sister Han Feizi joins the school, she will definitely shine like a jewel and shock Freezing Sky. I'm very curious about her. Once we meet her, I'll have to get to know her. A beautiful smile appeared on the woman's face as she spoke softly. The old man did not speak. The three of them turned into long arcs and charged forward. As they got closer to Han Mountain City, they gradually sensed the domineering presence coming from the sky. The clouds tumbled, and it looked as if there was a vague deity statue materializing rapidly within clouds. The pressure fell upon them the strongest when the three of them were 5,000 li away from Han Mountain City. What great might! The deity statue that fellow sister Han Feizi summoned seems to be slightly different from the statues that the others summoned within the school when they awakened, the man mused, though he was incredibly relaxed. That's right, I've seen the deity statue of awakening appear 4 times, this is the 5th time, but the pressure I feel this time is the strongest. We're not even close, and we already feel this way when we're 5,000 li away. The woman also gasped in admiration. Just like the man, the thought of befriending Han Feizi within her heart became clearer. However, the two of them did not realize that a strange light appeared in the old man's eyes as they got closer, and his expression became more solemn. Eventually, he suddenly came to a halt and stared at the sky, gradually overcome with amazement and shock. You said before that the lass is close to attaining completion of the blood solidification realm. The old man suddenly asked. The man and woman also stopped as he did so. They were slightly confused by the old man's words, but they still replied respectfully. Leader Lu, fellow sister Han Feizi was appraised by the Lord Left Preceptor personally in the past. The old man fell silent for a moment before he asked again, how long ago was that? The Left Preceptor came here once about half a year ago, the extraordinarily good-looking man quickly replied. He was afraid the old man would want to take her in as a disciple, that was why he mentioned the Left Preceptor again in his words. The Lord Left Preceptor is placing a lot of importance on fellow sister Han Feizi. I heard that he already wanted to take her in as a disciple a few years ago. He did not take in any other disciple during these few years because he wanted to focus all his attention on our fellow sister. The girl by his side spoke softly with a respectful tone. Half a year ago, a bright light appeared in the old man's eyes. Yes, fellow sister Han Feizi does indeed have shocking talent. To be able to attain completion of the blood solidification realm within half a year, I can't compare to her. The man sighed deeply. The old man remained silent for a while before he said slowly, is this just completion of the blood solidification realm? Take a closer look. This deity statue of awakening would not appear for a berserker who attained completion of the blood solidification realm. This is clearly the true form of awakening that will only appear for a berserker who attains the great completion of the blood solidification realm. The moment he spoke, the man and woman's expressions drastically changed. Great completion of the blood solidification realm. Fellow sister attained great completion of the blood solidification realm within half a year. This is. The man was completely stunned. His eyes widened in disbelieving shock. Awakening during great completion. If the Lord Left Preceptor knew about this, he'd have definitely come personally. The woman trembled and looked towards Han Mountain City. At that moment in Han Mountain City, as the deity statue of awakening materialized in the sky, its might descended upon them, causing the earth to start shaking faintly. All those within the blood solidification realm could no longer stand on their feet. They fell to the ground on their knees. Even some of the awakened berserkers found that they could not withstand the pressure. Before long, they would also be forced to fall to their knees and worship the statue. Su Ming could feel the urge to awaken within him reaching its limit, but 986 blood veins still could not make him satisfied. He stood on the chain and took a huge step forward, instantly closing up the 1,000 feet worth of distance between him and Puxiang Mountain. When there was only 700 feet between them, a booming sound rang out within Su Ming's body once again, and as the heavens and earth trembled, another blood vein manifested. 987 blood veins. The moment the 987th blood vein manifested, the clouds in the sky tumbled furiously. An amorphous, gigantic deity statue appeared in the mist. That statue seemed to look exactly the same as the deity statue of awakening that appeared a few months ago, but if people took a closer look, they would see that there were some differences. For starters, the pressure it exuded far surpassed the pressure they felt a few months ago. The liveliness and intelligence of the statue from a few months ago too could not compare with this statue. If the deity statue from a few months ago seemed to possess the spirit of a human, then the statue now seemed to contain the spirit of a deity. I order thee, awaken. The voice traveled to the entire region and turned into a sound that drowned out the sounds of thunder. The voice droned as it descended from the sky, and as it came, the weather changed, the earth shook, and rocks fell from mountains. When the voice fell upon them, it caused all those who were in the blood solidification realm to fall to their knees worshipping and feel shaken to the core. A buzzing sound filled their minds and turned them blank. The awakened berserkers could no longer stand on their feet. Nan Tian and the others were forced onto their knees as well, and their bodies trembled. In the entire region around Han Mountain, only the elders of the three tribes and Yan Luan could remain standing. The elder of Lake of Colors may seem frail, but the fact that she could remain standing in the face of the deity's statue of awakening was a testament that her power was definitely not as rumored. The moment Su Ming heard the voice, his chi erupted forth from within his body. Many ripples also formed on the giant that was formed by his blood veins above him, looking as if it was about to break down and reassemble. The 987 blood veins on the giant's body started trembling. 3 people charged through the sky, still 4,000 li away from Han Mountain City. However, as they got closer to the city, the pressure increased, causing their speed to decrease. Nonetheless, although they were thousands of li away, the majestic voice that traveled out from Han Mountain still rang clearly in their ears. The old man looked calm, the only change on him was that his pupils shrank slightly. However, the man and woman were so badly shaken that they could barely stand. Conflict and eagerness appeared on their faces. Fellow sister Han Feizi has awakened. She awakened during the great completion of the blood solidification realm. Once she's done, her power. Chapter 191, Refining He Feng. Su Ming lifted his head and stared at the indistinct, gigantic figure within the tumbling mist in the sky. The figure could not be seen clearly, and most of its body was concealed by the mist. The people could only see vaguely that the deity statue was built in the shape of a person sitting cross-legged in the sky. It was covered in black armor that exuded a vicious aura, as if there was an innumerable amount of wrong souls sealed within the armor. A black wisp of air that eventually turned into the tumbling black mist in the sky surrounded the deity statue. The voice was still echoing in the sky. It sounded as if the might of the heavens itself was reverberating in the air. If anyone heard it, their wills would break due to this sound. They would obey the voice despite themselves and act on the desire to awaken, even though that will was practically imposed on them. A bright flash appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He was only 700 feet away from Pukchiang Mountain. As the first order of awakening echoed in the air, he took huge steps forward, shortening the distance from 700 feet to 400 feet. At the same time, booming sounds reverberated through his body. As if it was on the verge of breaking down, a change suddenly occurred on the giant and another blood vein formed on its body. The moment the blood vein appeared, the giant trembled, looking as if it wanted to lift its head and rage against the sky. 988 blood veins. Su Ming did not hesitate, he moved forward like a shooting star. As he walked forth, the distance between him and Pukchiang Mountain decreased once again. When he was only 100 feet away from the mountain, the majestic voice came from the sky once again. I order thee, awaken. The moment the voice came, the giant above Su Ming broke down. Yet at the same time it shattered, the 989th blood vein manifested on Su Ming's body. The additional blood vein shone with a brilliant red light that illuminated the sky, causing the collapsing giant to reform from its collapsing state to whole once again, the shattered parts starting to gather together. This scene of Su Ming obviously wresting control from the deity made all those who saw it to fall into a state where they could no longer describe what they were feeling. The elder of Pukchiang tribe trembled, and as he stared at Su Ming standing 100 feet away, he fell to his knees and bowed deeply. Sir, we respectfully welcome you to Pukchiang tribe. The elder of Pukchiang tribe was originally the only one standing on the mountain. The moment he fell to his knees, Su Ming took another step and arrived on Pukchiang Mountain from the 9th section of the chain. He had completed the challenge of the chains of Han Mountain. From Han Mountain, he moved along the chain and arrived at Pukchiang Mountain. The moment his feet landed on the mountain, another blood vein manifested on his body with a boom, and once the 990th blood vein appeared, the giant above him seemed to finally possess enough strength, and it let out a roar towards the deity's statue of awakening in the sky. The clouds reeled to the side and the weather changed. The roar made it seem as if the giant wanted to go up against the deity statue of awakening clad in black armor. A cold and indifferent glare appeared in the black armored figure's eyes. For the first time since it appeared, it lifted its right hand slowly. As it lifted its hand, an indescribable pressure descended upon everyone abruptly. Unable to withstand it, the elder of Tranquil East tribe fell to his knees, and his actions were followed by Yan Luan, who also knelt down trembling. The final one who knelt down was Lake of Colors tribe's elder. At that moment, besides Su Ming, all those in the entire region around Han Mountain were on their knees prostrating on the ground. Puxiang Elder, allow me to loan the aura of death stored in your tribe. Hurry up and activate all the aura of death you have in store. Su Ming stood on Puxiang Mountain and looked at the prostrating elder of Puxiang tribe before him calmly. His voice was not loud, but in this situation, there was an inexplicable pressure in them. The elder of Puxiang tribe trembled and closed his eyes before he lifted his arms and slammed them onto the ground by his sides. The moment he pressed his palms on the ground, a surge of power traveled from his body into the mountain. With the blood of the elder of Puxiang tribe, I now activate the force of death of Puxiang, calling out to all the aura of death buried deep in the earth throughout the ages. Come forth. The elder of Puxiang tribe mumbled and bit his tongue, coughing out a mouthful of blood. His blood turned black the moment it appeared, and once it spilled on the ground, the entire Puxiang mountain started trembling furiously. A thick surge of aura of death erupted forth from the depths of the earth under the mountain. It spread out abruptly along veins within the mountain, causing it to be enveloped by the aura of death in an instant. In the midst of the endless aura of death were shrill cries. Everyone could see countless innocent souls within the aura of death that had erupted forth from the ground, and those souls filled the entire area. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes as he stared at the large amount of aura of death surging forth. This was the critical moment, and he did not want to waste even a single instant. Almost at the same time the aura of death appeared, he slammed his right hand on the storage bag in his bosom, and immediately, a corpse covered by herbs appeared before him. The corpse was entirely shrouded by herbs. It was impossible to see its face, yet the moment the corpse appeared, the aura of death around surged towards the corpse like a contained flood that suddenly found an exit. It was as if the corpse had turned into a gigantic whirlpool that could make all the aura of death gravitate towards it. The wronged souls within the aura of death fell over one another as they rushed forth, letting out piercing howls. In an instant, they enveloped the corpse and rushed into its body madly. This strange sight made Puxiang tribe's elder and tribe leader shocked. They had been training using the aura of death for all their life and activated their berserker arts with the aura of death, but they had never seen anything like this before. What is this berserker art? Su Ming's breathing quickened. He had been waiting for this day for far too long. Spirit plunder. Whether I can make this pill into my origin awakening vessel all lies in this moment. Su Ming swung his right hand forward and the bones, along with the herbs growing on them, appeared in his hands. Once he crushed all of them, the herbs and broken bones fused into the corpse in a strange fashion. A shocking presence burst forth from the corpse. The thick aura of death within that presence spread all around. The urge to awaken within Su Ming was already very difficult to suppress. Once the giant above him let out that roar, it broke down rapidly. Before long, it would completely shatter, and that would be the time Su Ming awakened. In the sky, the figure clad in black armor, the true form of the deity statue of awakening, was also lifting its right hand slowly. As it did so, the pressure also became stronger. Once it completely raised its hand, a great catastrophe would befall the entire land. Su Ming's face was grave with a hint of nervousness. Then, with the method to create spirit plunder ingrained in his head, he wrapped his entire body around He Feng's corpse and beat it repeatedly. Every single time his palm landed on the corpse, the place he struck would sink down and a lot of aura of death would surge into the spot before it would swell up once again. What's he doing? He's not awakening, but is filling a corpse with the aura of death. What is he doing? At that moment, that was the most dominant thought in the minds of the powerful awakened berserkers who were still conscious. Time passed by slowly. After a moment, a boom echoed in the sky, and the giant above Su Ming broke down completely. The moment it fell apart was also the same instant the true form of the deity statue in the sky lowered its right hand and pointed towards Su Ming with one finger. I order thee, awaken. The moment it pointed downwards, a presence of awakening burst forth from Su Ming's body. Amidst that presence, the 990 blood veins within his body instantly showed signs of melting. The melting of blood veins to form the berserker mark. That was the symbol of awakening. Almost at the same moment, Su Ming's right hand fell on top of He Feng's skull. He slammed his palm down on the spot, signaling the final step of creating the pill in his memories. The instant he slammed his right hand down, Feng's body abruptly swelled up and his eyes opened up. His pupils were gray. Those eyes seemed like they had been revived, and they were looking at the sky with a gaze that did not belong to Feng. The first thing that entered their vision was the true form of the deity statue of awakening in the sky. The gray hue in the eyes flickered, and the herb-covered body floated into the air, slowly crossing its legs to arrange itself in the same fashion as the true form of the deity's statue of awakening. This was something not even Su Ming had predicted. He was momentarily stunned, but did not have time to think much into it. This was a critical period for him. His blood veins were melting rapidly within his body. The desire to awaken had reached its peak. "I'm going to awaken," Su Ming mumbled. He no longer cared about Feng's corpse by his side. He might not understand its strange behavior, but he personally created this pill and no outsider had a hand in it during the entire procedure. From his memories regarding the method to create this pill, he could also feel surges of herbal aura flowing within Feng's body, and they were quickly gathering at the corpse's brains. Once they gathered together and condensed into the pill, spirit plunder would be formed. "Elder, I'm about to awaken." Su Ming sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. The moment he did so, muffled sounds of thunder suddenly came from within the clouds that were torn apart in the sky. At the same time, in the sky much higher above the true form of the deity statue of awakening, some clouds started gathering together when thunder started rumbling. This did not make sense. Under the might of the true form of the deity statue of awakening, the clouds could only be torn apart and replaced by mist. It was impossible for them to gather together once again. However, now, the clouds had gathered. The moment the clouds converged, a bolt of blue lightning suddenly descended from among the clouds. The bolt of lightning was about the breadth of the rim of a water pail. It crackled past the deity statue of awakening and charged towards the earth, descending upon Feng's corpse in a straight line. Su Ming was shaken. He opened his eyes and saw the bolt of blue lightning suddenly falling on Feng's corpse clearly. It caused the swelled-up corpse to rapidly wither as numerous electric arcs swam around it. The herbs on the body also turned into powder in an instant, but the herbal aura within Feng's body seemed to have received great nourishment and came together even faster. It had already turned into a fuzzy orb that was rapidly spinning in Feng's brain. The two strange sights in the sky stirred up incredible panic within Han Mountain City. The people who had lost consciousness due to the true form of the deity statue of awakening had woken up. The deity statue of awakening in the sky shuddered. Due to the sudden appearance of the clouds and the bolt of lightning, some of the mighty pressure coming from its body was forcefully dissipated. Because of that, the urge to awaken within Su Ming eased up for a moment. At that moment, a glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. During the moment the speed of his blood veins melting slowed down, another blood vein increased. 991 blood veins. Su Ming closed his eyes. A memory that was buried by time surfaced in his head. "I don't have any sense of propriety. I don't have parents. In your eyes, I have neither any right nor status, but, my elder once told me that you only see one part of the rain in the world. You will never know how much rain there is when it stops. You can only see the surface of the muddy water on the ground and never the bottom. This year, I am only 16 years old." In his memory, a teenager had his head lowered as he spoke his mind with calm resolution before the elder of Dark Dragon tribe. Chapter 192, Blooming Thought. As the land in Han Mountain City trembled furiously, no one made a sound, no matter what their level of cultivation was. At that moment, all those who were conscious waited with bated breath as they watched the sky and the person filled with the presence of awakening sitting cross-legged on Pukchiang Mountain. 3 long arcs charged through the sky thousands of li away from Han Mountain City. They wanted to get closer, but they were already struggling forward when the area was just filled the pressure from the true form of the deity statue of awakening. When the clouds way above merged together and the blue bolt of lightning fell with a rumble, the pressure that filled the air seemed to become even stronger. The man and woman were already pale and gasping for breath as they looked dumbly towards the direction of Han Mountain City. Their minds were blank, and the only thing left within them was awe born in the depths of their hearts towards their junior fellow disciple Han Feizi. Only the old man was looking towards the direction of Han Mountain City with twinkling eyes. He did not speak, but there was shock in his heart. The true form of the deity statue of awakening appeared and gave the order to awaken 3 times. This can only mean that the person who is awakening is suppressing his blood veins. This person is ambitious. Not only does he have extraordinary will, he also has a method to increase his blood veins. Is this person truly that lass, Han Fei Zi? If it is, then Zhou Shan has gotten himself a good disciple. If he trains her well, then she might even have the chance to compete against Sima's youngest for the edge. But that's not the most shocking thing. Those clouds actually managed to merge together even under the might of the true form of the deity statue of awakening. And the blue bolt of lightning that descended, why did that lightning fall? The old man's eyes sparkled, and he sighed. He did not abandon the people by his side to investigate on his own. That would just make his intentions too obvious. Instead, once he sighed, he calmed down and maintained the same speed as the man and woman as they flew towards the city slowly. At that moment, the sky above Han Mountain City rumbled. The instant the 991st vein appeared on Su Ming's body, the clouds above the true form of the deity statue of awakening clad in black armor glowed with a piercing shade of blue light once again. A bolt of blue lightning thicker than the one previously descended abruptly. That bolt of lightning caused the space between the sky and earth to twist. Under the gaze of all the people in the region around Han Mountain who almost passed out with the lack of breathing, they saw the bolt of lightning coming down in a straight line with a crash, charging down towards He Feng who was beside Su Ming. The herbal aura was rapidly gathering within He Feng's head. The fuzzy orb that was formed was spinning quickly inside, as if it wanted to absorb all the herbal aura within and materialize into a pill. The bolt of lightning came with a boom. It crackled past the true form of the deity statue of awakening towards He Feng. In an instant, it crashed into He Feng's body. A shocking boom reverberated through the sky, and He Feng's body was shrouded in blue light. Cracking sounds spread throughout the area, and many electrical arcs swam around his body. Some of them even fell on Puxiang Mountain's ground before they spread outwards. There were even some that spread to Su Ming. Su Ming jolted and opened his eyes. A strange light appeared in them. A faint hint of hesitation and inconceivability. The moment he opened his eyes, Su Ming immediately saw He Feng's limbs shattering under the blue bolt of lightning and dissipating once it turned into black mist. Even a large portion of his body disappeared without a trace under the bolt of lightning's relentless attack. As of then, in Su Ming's eyes, there was only a small portion of He Feng's body left, including his head. Lightning traveled through his body and gradually fused into him. At the same time, the herbal aura within He Feng's body that had withstood 2 lightning calamities was merging at even faster, shocking pace within that fuzzy orb in He Feng's head. At that moment, a pill about the size of a fingernail had appeared within the fuzzy orb. Before long, the pill would be complete. Due to the 2 bolts of lightning, the mighty pressure from the true form of the deity statue of awakening in the sky weakened largely, causing Su Ming's desire to awaken to disappear rapidly as well. This was the chance of a lifetime for Su Ming. This was out of his expectations. He had never expected such an incredible chance to appear when the lightning calamity was drawn out by his refining of spirit plunder occurred at the same time as he awakened. Originally, he could only manifest 990 blood veins. This was his body's limit. There was no way he could suppress the urge to awaken within him either. His only choice was to awaken. He had thought it was a pity when he chose to awaken, but he no longer thought about increasing his blood veins. The giant above him had shattered, his blood veins had melted. His entire person was enveloped by the presence of awakening. From that moment onwards, he lost all right to increase his blood veins. He had to awaken. It was especially so when the presence of awakening surged into his body, causing him to be unable to turn the tides. However, the appearance of 2 lightning calamities had opened up a path for him as if they had just blasted out a crack in a frozen river. The crack was not thin either. It appeared as if the ice was ripped apart. The people who looked like they were moments away from suffocating suddenly looked as if they had just sucked in a breath of fresh air. A brilliant flash appeared in Su Ming's eyes. The hesitance in them had been due to this. Yet the hesitance did not last long before Su Ming made his decision. Once the 991st blood vein manifested, he used the presence of awakening to largely melt that berserker bone. As it melted and the process of Su Ming's awakening had come to an abrupt halt, his blood veins increased once again. 992, 993, 994, The increase of 3 blood veins made booming sounds echo in Su Ming's body. The power of the blood veins crashed against the presence of awakening as they could not tolerate each other in his body. However, the light in Su Ming's eyes just became brighter. He could feel that with his condition, each extra blood vein made him become stronger by several fold. He could feel his strength increasing with an explosive might along with his blood veins. At that moment, the true form of the deity statue of awakening trembled in the sky. A blue electrical arc appeared once again strangely outside its body and traveled all around it. It was as if it was connected to He Feng's body, as if there was some sort of natural law contained within the act of He Feng's body manipulating himself to be in the exact same sitting position as the statue, which established some sort of connection between them, causing the deity's statue of awakening to replace He Feng's body in taking the brunt of the lightning's force as if it was helping him. As the lightning traveled through its body, a merciless glare appeared in the eyes of the true form of the deity's statue of awakening. Gradually, it moved its body, as if it was about to stand up. At the same moment, as the clouds high above the sky merged together, a large amount of blue light appeared for the third time. This time, the intensity of the blue light had clearly surpassed the previous 2 times. Even the entire cloud turned blue in that instant. Lightning that was formed due to the rain from the other parts of the sky around the area sped towards that blue cloud and fused into it, turning into a strong amount of pressure that fell upon everyone. Eventually, that bolt of lightning in that blue cloud reached a point where people would be aghast just by casting a glance at it. All of them could tell that the bolt of lightning in the cloud was much stronger than the previous 2 times. In fact, the previous 2 bolts could not begin to compare with this. The elder and tribe leader of Puxiang tribe were completely stunned as they prostrated themselves on the ground trembling. It was the same on Tranquil East Mountain. Even Han Kangzi was also pale. As she looked at the sky, reverence appeared on her face. On Lake of Colors Mountain, even though Yan Luan might be in the middle stage of awakening, the strange phenomenon in the sky made her feel minuscule and weak. The power of the bolts of lightning shocked her. The old woman knelt on the ground with her eyes closed. Her expression was calm, but she was reflexively clenching and unclenching her hand, which showed that what she felt within her heart was definitely not what she showed on her face. There was deathly stillness within Han Mountain City. No one caused a ruckus. No one initiated any discussions. All the people seemed to have lost all process of thought in the midst of their nervousness and shock. That included Nan Tian, Keiju Si, Leng Ying, and Zan Lun, who was also kneeling down somewhere in the distance. Even the man and woman among the 3 figures charging towards the city from thousands of li away let out cries of surprise before they came to an abrupt halt. They were aghast as they looked at the clouds, unable to understand what was happening. The old man who was leading the team looked at the blue cloud in the distance in silence. He, too, sucked in a deep breath. Su Ming sat on Puxiang Mountain. The 994 blood veins within his body were strained to the absolute limit he could endure. Blood trickled down the corners of his lips. He gritted his teeth and melted the berserker bone within his body once again, but no matter how much he tried to melt it and how much he tried to endure it, his blood veins stayed at only 994 and refused to increase. As the blue cloud gathered in the sky and the bolt of lightning seemed to be on the verge of striking down, as the true form of the deity statue of awakening clad in black armor was gradually standing up, Su Ming knew that his time was short. He lifted his head and looked at the blue cloud. The hesitation in his eyes before had been due to the blood veins, but besides hesitation, there was also inconceivability. That inconceivability was not due to blood veins, neither was it due to awakening, but was due to the electrical arcs that shocked him when the second bolt of lightning struck He Feng. The electrical arcs fused into his body and made him jolt. They might have already dissipated, but they had stayed for an instant in his body. It was during that one instant when it stayed that made a thought bloom in Su Ming's mind, one that made him think that it was slightly startling and unimaginable. He had never even heard of it before, and had no idea whether it was possible. That thought was bold and reckless. It could even be said to be ridiculous. Yet now, even if Su Ming himself thought that the idea itself was a fantasy, he still could not help but mull over it with excitement. I only have one chance. This is the only time where I'll know whether this is just a fantasy of mine, or that it can become reality. I want to try it. Su Ming stared at the blue cloud in the sky, and calm madness appeared in his eyes. Spirit plunder might be able to become my origin awakening vessel because it has substance, and it's not incorporeal. The origin vessel seems to require a concrete body. But, this powerful blue bolt of lightning stayed in my body for a moment. Does this mean that during that instant it was a physical entity? But after a moment, it'll become incorporeal again. Chapter 193, Awakening. What is the meaning of lightning calamity? Su Ming mumbled. The words, lightning calamity, were mentioned in the method to create spirit plunder stored in his head. In his memories, the lightning calamity only appeared due to spirit plunder. The laws of nature did not allow the use of humans for cauldrons to create medicinal pills, much less creating it using the aura of death. That was why celestial lightning turned into a calamity that fell on him. The purpose of this bolt of lightning was to destroy the medicinal pill, but as the medicinal pill was shielded by the corpse, the power of lightning once it struck down would diminish. When the corpse was eventually destroyed, the medicinal pill would be created. Su Ming had never truly mulled over this description of the pill in detail. Based on his understanding, this was something that he could not possibly understand. However, at that moment, as his heart raced and the thought that made him excited bloomed in his head, the pill's description appeared in his mind. What is the meaning of lightning calamity? If we take off the word calamity, we are only left with lightning. Su Ming's mind raced. He was not unfamiliar with lightning. When he initially came to the land of South Morning, he saw lightning striking trees. At that time, he already analyzed it and believed that it was because the trunks were too moist. That was why lightning was drawn to them, causing the trees to be set ablaze instantly, until all that was eventually left were the materials he needed to create his medicinal pills. However, there seemed to be some inaccuracies in his previous theory. There are a lot of trees in the rainforest, so why did the taller trees attract lightning? Perhaps it's because the humidity on those trees was greater, or it could be because there's another reason for it. Lightning can strike trees, then this time, why did He Feng's body draw in all the bolts of lightning from the lightning calamity? The description in my memories is too cryptic, it doesn't seem like it's the correct explanation for this. Su Ming could not understand this phenomenon. In fact, there was a feeling within him telling him that it was only natural for lightning to fall. As for why it happened and the source for why it was happening was something he could not figure out. Yet at that moment, if he wanted to bring that mad thought of his to fruition, he must understand all these completely. Why does lightning exist? What is lightning? If I can't understand the causes for lightning, then I won't be able to keep it inside my body and turn it into my origin vessel. This was Su Ming's idea, the insane, inconceivable, but exciting idea. However, after some quick thinking, Su Ming had to give up on it. He could not understand what lightning was and where it came from. He had no confidence in making lightning stay in his body. Those thoughts eventually turned into a sigh. Su Ming knew he was short on time. The deity statue of awakening was slowly standing up and the bolt of lightning in the sky was rapidly converging before it would strike down. No matter how hard he melted the berserker bone in his body, he could not increase any more blood veins. It was not something that he could accomplish by just gritting his teeth to persevere and endure through it. His current condition was of a stone bottle that was full. Even if he poured more water in it, he could not add more water into the bottle. It would only spill out. If he wanted to manifest more blood veins, his only method was to make that stone bottle bigger. In truth, once the 990th blood vein manifested on Su Ming's body, he was already filled like the stone bottle in his analogy. He could only manifest 4 more blood veins due to the presence of awakening fusing into his body, which in a way transformed his body, as if his body was the stone bottle, and it had become bigger. It allowed him to better complete the transition to become a powerful awakened berserker in a situation where it was impossible for him to do anything to increase his blood veins. However, the unexpected appearance of the bolts of lightning broke this irreversible situation, giving Su Ming the chance of a lifetime. It allowed him to make the impossible possible, increasing 4 more blood veins. Yet now, he was at his limit once again. There was no way he could change anything to make the stone bottle contain more water and to make another blood vein appear on his body. This was something Su Ming understood fully. He knew that even the burning of blood could not help him with this. I don't know how the ancients managed to manifest 1,000 blood veins. Perhaps there are people born who truly possess such astonishing potential that they can contain 1,000 blood veins in their bodies, but I'm not them. I don't know how they did it, but if I want to increase more blood veins, this is the only way. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He swiftly stood up and stomped on the ground to launch himself into the air. When he was in midair, he spread his arms wide open. My body is filled. I can't add any more blood veins. The only way I can think of is to break my own body, just like breaking the stone bottle. The instant it cracks, the amount of water it can contain will increase. Even if my body breaks, if I can seize the precise moment and awaken, it's not impossible. Su Ming's eyes shone with calmness and madness. His madness stemmed from his idea, and his calmness came from every single planned action of his. Su Ming could not stay too long in midair. Before long, he would fall. Right now, he had his arms spread wide, and loud banging sounds instantly came from his body. As the sounds reverberated in the air, the 994 blood veins in his body scattered as if they had just broken down and were set ablaze. If I break my body and make myself to be no longer contained in a bottle, there's no way I won't be able to obtain more blood veins. Su Ming shouted out in his heart. As roars came from within his body, blood trickled out from Su Ming's mouth. Blood also flowed out from his eyes, ears, and nose. The roaring coming from his body arrived at its loudest point. His blood veins erupted in his body. As they did so, the first to be affected was his body. It was just as he thought it would be. The stone bottle broke. Thin cracks appeared on Su Ming's body. It was as if his body had been split apart. Once the cracks spread out, he would be torn to shreds. Red light shone from the thin cracks and scattered out of them, even showing signs of spreading further. An indescribable pain spread to every corner of Su Ming's body. It was a pain as if he was about to self-destruct, a pain that a common person would not be able to endure. Su Ming, too, was unable to withstand it. His expression twisted, but as his body continued breaking apart, his blood veins abruptly increased once again. 995. In a spot no one could see on Su Ming's right leg, the 995th blood vein appeared. The additional blood vein increased the speed of Su Ming's body breaking down. More cracks appeared, a feeling as if he was about to be destroyed and die filled his entire being. Yet a smile appeared on Su Ming's lips, which was hidden under the hood. That smile was cruel. This cruelty was not directed to others, but towards himself. He always remembered what his elder had once said. If he wanted to obtain something, he must give up something in return. The more he wanted to obtain something, the more he would have to sacrifice. Only he could determine whether the sacrifice was equivalent to the reward and whether it was worth it, not anyone else. I've already taken this step and obtained the 995th blood vein. If I don't pour everything I have and fight for it, I won't be satisfied. Su Ming's body started falling from the air. During the process, his body started rapidly breaking apart. The roars echoed in the air, and as Su Ming fell, another blood vein appeared with an explosive might on his left leg. 996. That additional blood vein made Su Ming's body reach its breaking point. Blood mist gushed out of his body, and his vision blurred. A feeling of death filled his entire body. All these were seen by the people around him, and they were filled with shock and deep reverence. At that moment, all those who were still conscious could see what Su Ming was trying to do. From his actions alone, they could feel his madness and desire to increase his blood veins. As Su Ming fell, he looked at the true form of the deity statue of awakening clad in black armor that had now stood up completely. When the deity statue stood up, it looked like a giant that reached the sky. The black armor it wore exuded an endless amount of vicious aura. It looked at Su Ming coldly and lifted its right hand to point at Su Ming. This is the final time, I order thee, awaken. The moment its voice reverberated in the air, even the blue cloud in the sky stopped for an instant. Su Ming lifted his head and let out a low growl towards the sky. Blood veins. His body broke apart. The stone bottle completely shattered, his robes exploding in the process. The blood mist enveloping the area outside his body completely covered his face and his torn body so that no one could see his face. The moment his body broke, Su Ming's blood veins started increasing madly with a shocking speed, as if the limits on his body had been lifted. 997, 998, 999, 999 blood veins covered every corner of Su Ming's broken body. It seemed that there was no longer any space to take in the 1000th blood vein. The only spot left was underneath his eyes, under his crumbling face hidden away by the mist, the scar left behind when the broken shard from the destroyed Dark Mountain statue of the god of berserkers slashed his face. It was a normal scar, but to Su Ming, this was the only mark left of Dark Mountain on his body. If the 1000th blood vein appeared, the scar on Su Ming's face would disappear and be replaced. The instant the only mark he had left of Dark Mountain was about to disappear, conflict appeared in Su Ming's eyes. To awaken with 1000 blood veins, a sight that was rare even during the age of the ancients, and wipe away the only trace left of Dark Mountain on his body, or to retain this scar and give up on the 1000th blood vein. That was the question. If you want to obtain something, then you have to give up something in return, only you can decide whether it is worth the cost. The elder's words echoed in Su Ming's head. He felt as if he had seen his elder, Dark Mountain, and the moment Dark Mountain tribe's statue of the god of berserkers shattered. Eventually, in Su Ming's eyes, he recalled the sight he saw using Hong Kong's power, where he saw himself tied up in chains in the void. That Su Ming had no scar on his face, but once he said something, the scar appeared on his face. Refuse, Su Ming mumbled. The moment these words were spoken, the 1000th blood vein dissipated. At the same time, the vast presence of awakening enveloped Su Ming's whole body. His broken body mended itself in that instant, and the blood mist that had spread out tumbled back into his body. Even the torn clothes pieced themselves together and appeared on his body, as if time had just reversed. The world roared. The presence that only belonged to those who awakened erupted from Su Ming's body. The might of that presence was so incredible it caused all the berserkers in the blood solidification realm in the area to tremble. Even Nan Tian and the other powerful awakened berserkers felt shocked. They could clearly feel an incredibly mighty pressure coming from Su Ming's body. Awakening. Chapter 194, awarded the title of Divine General. The might of the pressure far surpassed that of an ordinary berserker who had awakened, but it was still not stable. That presence filled Su Ming's entire body. Even so, the moment the pressure dissipated, it made all those around him feel shaken to the core. This was the first time in their lives that they had seen the full process of a berserker who attained great completion of the blood solidification realm awakening. This shocked them so greatly it could even affect their entire lives. The elder of Puxiang tribe trembled as he prostrated himself on the ground. His level of cultivation may be at the middle stage of awakening, but there was only an indescribable reverence in him towards Su Ming. It was one that stemmed from his soul, and one that appeared due to the might coming from Su Ming's body. This intimidating pressure made the elder of Puxiang tribe gasp for breath. If he was already in this condition, then it was much more so for the man who looked like a mountain of flesh beside him. The tribe leader of Puxiang tribe looked at Su Ming with incredible reverence. The 999 blood veins in Su Ming's body instantly melted. When his falling body was 100 feet away from the summit of Puxiang Mountain, for the first time ever, with his own strength, Su Ming floated and stood in air. He had awakened. At that moment, the true form of the deity statue of awakening clad in armor in the sky looked at Su Ming with a hint of gentleness that was barely noticeable in his cold and aloof eyes. Breaking thy body to obtain awakening, that is in accordance to the second law laid by the first god of berserkers, I grant thee, South Asunder sword, come forth to great you to retrieve thy sword, and thou shalt be awarded the title Divine General of Awakening. The true form of the deity statue of awakening's magnificent voice echoed in the air. It cast a profound look at Su Ming before it swung its right hand down and charged towards Su Ming. In an instant, it appeared before Su Ming and touched the top of his skull. Su Ming did not dodge. He had no blood veins in his body at that moment, but there was a power that far surpassed the power of 999 blood veins by several fold contained within him. Besides, the deity statue of awakening in the sky gave him a strange feeling, as if there was some sort of mysterious connection between them. It made him feel that it was not a cold and detached being, but there was a sense of familiarity coming from it. When the deity statue of awakening's right index finger touched the top of Su Ming's skull, his body trembled. He could clearly feel a special energy traveling from its finger into his body, causing his body to tremble and rumble once again. A feeling that grew increasingly stronger enveloped him entirely. Eventually, that special presence spread out within Su Ming. When it surrounded his entire body, it turned into a black bundle of mist that surrounded Su Ming from head to toe before it turned into black armor. That armor was slightly different from the armor the true form of the deity statue of awakening wore. It was clearly much simpler in design, but the incredible power from it spread out abruptly. However, Su Ming's armor was a mere illusion. It was not real. Come, to Great Yu. The true form of the deity statue of awakening in the sky retracted its right hand. Its body gradually faded out, and after a moment, it completely disappeared from the sky. No traces of it could be found thereafter. At that moment, the only thing left in the sky was the mighty blue cloud that was still gathering lightning. The lightning calamity would fall upon him at any moment now. I, finally awakened. Su Ming floated in midair. The black mist armor surrounding his body gave him a vicious and freezing air. He stood in the air and looked at the sky in the distance. An indescribable feeling spread through his heart. Elder, I awakened. Bai Ling, did you know? I awakened. Su Ming felt anguish blossoming in his heart. Awakening should have been a joyous occasion, but for a reason he did not know, he felt no excitement. He simply missed Dark Mountain. Even if he now possessed strength where his limits were unknown to even himself, even if he now lived up to his name and became the most powerful berserker in Han Mountain, even if all those within sight in the area did not pose much of a threat to him, he still did not have the excitement and thrill that he should have had after he awakened. The blue cloud in the sky rumbled. However, that rumbling sound could not stifle the uproar from Han Mountain and the three tribes. That sound was like a wave that rose to a shocking volume. He awakened in the great completion of the blood solidification realm, and he was rewarded the South Asunder Sword and given the title of Divine General of Awakening. South Asunder Sword. I've never read about this sword from any ancient scrolls, but if the sword was given by the deity statue of awakening, then it must be extraordinary. Is this the serendipity for a berserker who attains great completion of the blood solidification realm awakens? They'll be rewarded with a treasure. And they'll be given the title of Divine General of Awakening as well. What is the Divine General of Awakening though? The strongest of Han Mountain City, Nantian looked at Su Ming standing in midair and mumbled. Divine General of Awakening, why did this never appear the previous time I saw the deity statue of awakening appear? Keiju Sis' heart raced against his chest and deep reverence appeared in his eyes. Zhang Lun was completely stunned. All emotions in his heart were replaced by bafflement. He looked at Su Ming and a feeling of powerlessness blossomed within him. Divine General of Awakening, he was awarded the title Divine General of Awakening. Han Fei Zi trembled and disbelief appeared in her eyes. She was one of the few who knew the meaning of the title Divine General of Awakening. In fact, she was suppressing her blood veins to become the Divine General of Awakening as well. Divine General of Awakening is an acknowledgement bestowed upon the awakened berserkers who truly obtained the quintessence of the berserker tribe. It is an emblem of berserk, and it's something that normal awakened berserkers cannot compare, the old woman mumbled on Lake of Colors tribe. The elder of Tranquil East tribe was on his knees with a respectful expression on his face on Tranquil East Mountain. I can't believe a Divine General of Awakening appeared in Han Mountain. I wonder which deity's statue's armor he'll receive once he goes to Great Yu. After a short uproar, two figures flew out from Lake of Colors Mountain. It was the old woman and Yan Luan. The latter's face was filled with deep respect. Along with the old woman, she bowed towards Su Ming in midair. Lake of Colors tribe congratulates Lord Divine General on awakening. At the same time, the elder of Tranquil East tribe flew up from Tranquil East Mountain as well, and along with Fang Shen, who stood on the mountain, their words traveled forth. Tranquil East tribe congratulates Lord Divine General on awakening. Puxiang tribe congratulates Lord Divine General on awakening. Their sounds reverberated in the air, and they were followed by congratulatory words rising and falling from the entire Han Mountain City. Their voices echoed in the air as they commended Su Ming. Besides the old man from the three people from Freezing Sky clan who were thousands of li away from Han Mountain City, the man and the woman were both filled with shock as they looked at the distance. Fellow Sister Han Feizi was awarded the title of Divine General. We must report this to the left preceptor as soon as possible. Fellow Sister Han Feizi's name is definitely going to resound through the entire freezing clan. Su Ming stood in midair and suppressed his thoughts. He lifted his head and looked at the blue cloud in the sky. He knew that this was not the time to feel moved. He was only halfway through awakening. It was not over. I have to quickly choose my origin vessel and assimilate it into my body, then I have to leave and find a quiet place to draw my berserker mark in meditation. Only when he had finished drawing his berserker mark could he be considered to have completed the process of awakening, and only then could his power stabilize, instead of fluctuating and spreading out like this. It's a pity that I don't know what lightning is made of and neither do I know how it came to be, so it's hard for me to keep it within me and make it my origin vessel. I can only choose to use spirit plunder. Su Ming stood in the middle of the air in silence and looked at the blue cloud in the sky. There was a look of regret in his eyes as he waited for the moment that bolt of lightning struck and the medicinal pill appeared. Yet at that moment, a shred of lightning suddenly came off the converging bolts of lightning in the blue cloud in the sky. As the light in the clouds flickered, it charged towards the ground and landed on a mountain in the distance as if it was guided by something. When he saw this, a rumble suddenly appeared in Su Ming's head. He stared fixedly at the blue cloud in the sky and lowered his head to look at the land along with what little was left of He Feng's body floating in the air. Lightning strikes trees. Lightning was drawn in when I created spirit plunder. Lightning fell and struck the top of the mountain. This is theirs. Su Ming seemed to have understood something, but that thought was not clear in his head. Still, he had a feeling that he had latched onto something. At that moment, the blue cloud rumbled. A lot of lightning gathered together, looking as if it was about to explode, causing some of the thin threads of lightning that were wandering about in the cloud to fall towards the land all around the area. They fell on the mountains around them. Some of them even fell on the mountains where people had gathered to watch. They broke into commotion and quickly dodged the bolts. Activation, activation, I get it. A brilliant flash appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He had understood it somewhat. Lightning originally doesn't fall from the sky. It's not out of its will that it struck the trees. Perhaps it's more accurate to say that lightning doesn't have a will, it's just attracted to the trees in midair. It's the same for the mountains in the area. They attracted the lightning in the sky. It's the same for the people in the area. He Feng is also the same. It's not that the lightning is attacking him, it's just that there's something on him that's attracting lightning to him. This thing exists in the mountains, the trees, and many other places. Then, what is it? Su Ming whipped his head around to look at He Feng. He Feng absorbed the aura of death for refinement. Could it be the aura of death? But there's no aura of death in the ground, neither is there any in the mountains. It's not the aura of death, but something else. What is attracting the lightning? Su Ming understood a little of the concept, but along with it came even more confusion. However, he did not have time to think. Just as his mind worked furiously, the sky rumbled with an intensity that shook the sky and earth. The blue cloud had finally charged up enough lightning. The blue light pierced into people's eyes. Lightning was about to fall. Yet at that very moment, Su Ming's mind rumbled as he activated the branding art. With the activation of the branding art, he trembled and saw something vaguely on the land. The instant thunder rumbled, there was a barely noticeable, faint glow of lightning that would have been easily missed unless he had been searching for it. It was on the ground, on the mountains, and on the crowd like a tide. It was a lightning glow that could not be seen with the naked eye. It was that thing that attracted the lightning in the sky. The bolts longed to touch it. The lightning glow that could not be seen with the naked eye traveled on the ground and was all absorbed by He Feng's body. Once a large amount of it surged into his body, it gathered inside him. As it nourished the medicinal pill in his body, it also made He Feng's body into the spot where the most lightning glow from the ground had gathered. Su Ming seemed to have heard a faint sound calling out to him, as if it was just a figment of his imagination. A rumble appeared in his head. He understood. At the same time, the cloud shrank, as if it was entirely absorbed by the bolt of lightning. Finally, only a blue bolt of lightning about 10 feet in breadth was left behind, and it charged down towards the ground and He Feng's body, which was calling out to him. Chapter 195, the treasure of awakening. The bolt of lightning shone with a blue light, dyeing the entire land in blue. It shone in the eyes of all those who were watching, and even those pairs of eyes were reflecting off a shade of blue. The blue bolt of lightning that was the breadth of 10 feet charged towards Hefeng with a boom through the air. It was so quick that it arrived in an instant. But the moment it closed in, Su Ming took a step forward. He did not take a step towards Hefeng's side, where that bolt of lightning was going. He went instead to the summit of Puxiang Mountain. The moment his foot landed, rumbles reverberated through the air, and the blue bolt of lightning crashed into Hefeng's body. What little remained of his body instantly turned into ashes, and only his head was left. He still had his eyes open, and there was a strange shade of gray in his eyes. In his head, the fuzzy orb formed from the herbal aura was rapidly spinning and quickly transitioning from aura to medicinal pill. The attack from the lightning was not over. It continued crashing downwards with a rumble, as if it wanted to turn what was left of Hefeng, his head, into dust before it would stop. It was also at that moment that Su Ming stepped onto the mountain rock on the summit of Puxiang Mountain. He did not stop for even a moment. The instant he landed, while he might not have qi in his body, an even stronger power erupted from his body and traveled into Puxiang Mountain from his feet. A tremor abruptly shook the mountain, and muffled rumbles traveled out, but the rumbles were drowned out by the lightning and no one could hear them. As the mountain trembled, shock spread through the people of Puxiang tribe. They did not dare move from their kneeling positions. This scene was akin to the earth moving and mountain shaking. It was as if the mountain itself was about to crumble under Su Ming's power. Right after that, the mountain trembling furiously, a lot of aura of death was forced out of the bottom of the mountain, tumbling upwards. Shrill cries came from the wrong souls. They spread out from the mountain as they swarmed forth with the aura of death. Time was running out. Su Ming did not have the luxury and method to think through all of this carefully. However, with the branding art, he could see that lightning fell from the sky because there were faint lightning sparks that the eye could not see covering the land like a flood. These lightning sparks looked as if they possessed life. They longed to come into contact with lightning, and that bolt of lightning had the same desire. That was why as the lightning sparks that covered the land and could not be seen with the naked eye followed after the cloud like a shadow, lightning would be drawn towards the mountains and the tall trees. Due to some unknown reason, Hefeng's body had caused the lightning sparks that could not be seen with the naked to surge towards him, going into his body and covering him with it, causing him to be the most attractive object on the entire land during that one instant. Su Ming did not know the reason behind it, but he knew that before Hefeng had absorbed the aura of death, his corpse had not possessed this quality. The only hope and clue he had managed to capture was that Hefeng could draw in the bolts of lightning and cause the lightning sparks that could not be seen with the naked eye to surge into his body was due to the existence of the aura of death. Su Ming did not know what laws of nature were in this, but the moment the large amount of aura of death surged forth from under Puxiang Mountain, he lifted his right foot and stomped on the mountain once again. The moment his foot landed, the mountain rumbled and shook once again. The elder, tribe leader, and all the people of Puxiang tribe by their side were all pale, but they did not dare try to stop him. No one dared to stop Su Ming, because in their eyes, Su Ming's entire body was enveloped in that black mist armor, his hair was floating even without the presence of wind. An incredible pressure and mighty presence exuded from his body. He was no longer the same unknown entity as before he had challenged the chains of Han Mountain. At this moment, he was one of the divine generals of awakening of the Berserker tribe who obtained the acknowledgement of the deity statue of awakening. What is Lord Divine General doing? The Lord has already awakened. He needs to refine his origin vessel. Could he be doing all this for his origin vessel? I wonder what is Lord Divine General's origin vessel, how would it look like? The people in Han Mountain City whispered amongst themselves. Their gazes as they looked towards Puxiang Mountain were filled with deep reverence and eagerness. They longed to know how Su Ming's origin vessel would look like and yearned to learn how his berserker mark would appear like. Lord Divine General Mosus's origin vessel would definitely be extraordinary. The elder of Tranquil East tribe mumbled while looking respectfully towards Su Ming standing on the mountain in the distance from Tranquil East tribe. Fang Shen did not speak. His face was illuminated by the blue light from the bolt of lightning. Excitement filled his face. He was still absorbed in the moment Su Ming awakened and found it hard to recover from that scene. Sima Shin's origin awakening vessel was a strange seven-colored mountain in the world. This treasure is incredibly famous in Freezing Sky Clan and is known to be a supreme awakening treasure. I wonder what Mosus awakening treasure is. Han Kangzi bit her bottom lip and her heart started to race uncontrollably. The same question appeared on Lake of Colors Mountain. Yan Luan did not know that Su Mingxi had to look at respectfully now was someone she had met before in the isolation grounds of Han Mountain's ancestor. She had fought against him for a short while, and had even considered taking him as her mate. If she knew of all these, her terror would be incredibly great. Could his origin vessel be like? The old woman by Yan Luan's side frowned with uncertainty. Her eyes fell on the blue bolt of lightning still crashing down by Su Ming's side. Gradually, disbelief and inconceivability gradually appeared in her eyes. Could it be? This is rather impossible, the old woman mumbled. As Su Ming took a step forward, Puxiang Mountain trembled furiously and an even greater amount of aura of death surged forth from the bottom of the mountain. The aura gathered together, and the shrill cries coming from the wrong souls could be heard from within. Su Ming lifted his head. The black mist armor that covered his body made him look like a fiend. He lifted his right hand and grabbed at the air. A strong absorption force spread out from inside his body. That absorption happened because there were no longer any blood veins in him, but he had the power of awakening's chi within him. That power turned into a vortex that continued spinning incessantly as Su Ming manipulated it with fine control. The vortex was inside his body. As Su Ming grabbed at the air with his right hand, the aura of death swimming around the area charged towards him. In an instant, it surrounded his body. Some of it even crawled into his body and fused with him. Before he awakened, even if Su Ming could do this, his body would not be able to withstand so much aura of death unless he had practiced related berserker arts, else he would simply turn into a corpse. Yet right now, Su Ming had awakened. There were no blood veins in his body. His chi gushed out from all parts of his body. There was a difference of power of two different realms within him. Even if some of the aura of death was not absorbed, he could still instantly make it scatter. Right at the moment the aura of death enveloped Su Ming's body, he saw with the branding art that some of the lightning sparks that could not be seen with the naked eye rushing towards He Feng's head had suddenly stopped and changed direction. They charged towards him. The moment he saw this, Su Ming's eyes brightened up. I was right, it was just as he had expected. The lightning sparks that could not be seen with the naked eye were attracted by the aura of death. In an instant, some of the lightning sparks that could not be seen by the naked eye closed in on Su Ming. Some of them covered his body, while others fused into him, just like what the aura of death had done. It was also at that moment, before Su Ming even had time to observe it carefully, that two lightning arcs split off from the blue bolt of lightning descending down towards He Feng. They looked as if they were attracted by something and abruptly broke off from the bolt of lightning that was 10 feet in breadth and charged towards Su Ming. The two blue lightning arcs followed one after another, and in the blink of an eye, the first lightning arc closed in and crashed into Su Ming's body. He trembled and, without any hesitation, moved backwards. His body felt a little numb. Tiny lightning arcs swam across his entire body, but his eyes grew brighter. The second lightning arc was already close and was about to hit him. Su Ming moved back at full speed. His heart raced against his chest. During that instant, he saw some parts governing the rules of lightning falling clearly, but the other parts remained clouded. As he retreated, a glint appeared in his eyes, and he immediately came to a stop. At that moment, the second lightning arc closed in and crashed into his body. He trembled. His chi rocked within his body, and the numbness made him feel as if he had lost all sense of pain. There was a powerful force in the bolts of lightning, forcing Su Ming to stagger a few hundred feet back. However, his eyes only became brighter. He fully understood it now. He saw a lot of aura of death disappearing once it had drawn the lightning sparks that could not be seen with the naked eye surging into his body and around him. At the same time, he saw another lightning glow that he had overlooked previously. Compared with the lightning glow that covered the land, this was a different lightning spark. It may have looked the same, but Su Ming could sense that they were clearly different. One of them comes from the ground, so I'll call them earth and lightning. The other comes from the void, so I'll call them void lightning. He could not explain it, all of this was just a vague feeling he had. He clearly saw that when his body was enveloped by the lightning sparks from the earth, the second void lightning from the sky that was similarly not visible to the naked eye and could only be seen vaguely if he observed it carefully using the branding art, came charging towards him. With his body as the center, when the earth and lightning and void lightning crashed into each other, Su Ming's entire body became numb. It was also during that time that the second lightning arc crashed into him. I understand now. This is lightning. I only noticed a part of it before, but the true reason as to why lightning attacks is due to earth and lightning and void lightning coming into contact. When these two lightning sparks that can't be seen with the naked eye touch, then we will see the bolts of lightning that shake the world appear. If I can create this cycle within my body and make these lightning sparks, then I'm confident I'll be able to fuse lightning into my body with the awakening chi I have now and refine my origin awakening vessel. If I'm successful, then my origin vessel will continue to become stronger, and lightning will be my enchanted vessel. Desire appeared in Su Ming's eyes. Chapter 196, The Power of Lightning. Su Ming lifted his right hand and seized the large amount of aura of death that surrounded Puxiang Mountain. The vortex within his body appeared once again. In an instant, the aura of death charged towards him with a loud boom. The lightning sparks that covered the earth swiftly changed their direction and charged towards Su Ming. The light in his eyes flickered. He left his original spot. The moment his body left the ground, the air twisted on the spot he was standing, but no lightning appeared. Once earth and lightning and void lightning come into contact, it'll form lightning. I can't evade or dodge it, because the lightning I see is just an illusion. In truth, the moment earth and lightning and void lightning come into contact, the power of lightning has already formed. Su Ming's mind became clearer. Once he understood the concept, many branches stemmed out of the concept like a tree, and he managed to branch out his thoughts into many different areas. As he moved, he never stopped, but with every single step he took, a lot of earth and lightning that was not visible to the naked eye would surge forth and cover his entire body before seeping inside. Before I absorb enough earth and lightning, I absolutely cannot let void lightning touch me. The thing Su Ming was dodging was the vague void lightning that he could only see with the branding art. All of this could not be seen by others. In the eyes of the crowd, Su Ming was running around the place erratically, but strangely and shockingly, the space behind him continued distorting. It was as if every single spot that he went to would distort in a manner that would even block their vision for an instant. The distortions in the air spread out like ripples. The strange sight made all those who saw it baffled. In their disbelief, they became more respectful and mystified by Su Ming. Su Ming became faster, but even though his speed was quick, the void lightning that seemed to have filled the entire sky was also traveling at incredible speeds. It charged towards Su Ming from all around him as if there was something on him that attracted it, a substance that drew it mad. In fact, the gigantic blue bolt of lightning that was attacking He Feng's head, causing it to continue dissipating and revealing the spirit plunder contained within, also started to become agitated. Distortions appeared all around the area, as if it was going to change directions at any moment. It may seem simple, but only Su Ming himself understood the underlying dangers. He was focused. As he continued moving all around the area to avoid the void lightning as much as possible, there were still some shortcomings. Sometimes lightning would appear and fall on him. It's still not enough. Su Ming charged towards the chain of Han Mountain connected to Puxiang Mountain. He saw a large amount of earth and lightning on the chain. If it were not because of He Feng drawing in void lightning to himself, the chain might have been attacked by countless bolts of lightning by now. The moment Su Ming landed on the chain at full speed, the earth and lightning attached to the chain charged towards Su Ming and surged into and around his body. At that moment, rumbling sounds echoed in the air and numerous bolts of lightning appeared at the same time, crashing into Su Ming. He jolted and flew into the air, charging towards the sky. I have enough earth and lightning. Now, I'll need a similar amount of void lightning. The moment they come into contact, my body might not be able to withstand it, but, if I want to turn lightning into my origin vessel, then this is the only way. The longer I can persevere, the higher my chances of success. At that moment, the aura of death within Su Ming's body had completely dissipated. The only thing left was the large amount of earth and lightning that could not be seen with the naked eye. It stayed within and around his body, causing him to appear even more appealing for lightning than He Feng, becoming the sole object to draw in lightning. Only physical objects can be refined and turned into origin vessels. Lightning is abstract, so only if I produce it relentlessly in my body can I make it belong to me. Only then will I be considered to have taken control of lightning. All the other methods of taking lightning and fusing it into the body are just fake rumors, because the appearance of lightning is an illusion. The true force comes from the moment earth and lightning and void lightning crash into lightning. This is the true refinement of lightning. Su Ming charged towards the top of the sky. He could sense that there was a large amount of void lightning high up in the sky. The moment his body reached that place, the world rumbled, and numerous bolts of lightning appeared out of nowhere. They charged towards Su Ming from all around him. Loud rumbling sounds echoed in the air. The people could no longer see Su Ming. The only thing they saw were the bolts of lightning that spread through the endless mass of sky. At that moment, the blue bolt of lightning that was still incessantly attacking He Feng's head suddenly changed direction and charged towards Su Ming, who was hidden away by lightning. The moment the blue bolt of lightning charged out, the world trembled in a manner as if it was creating an abnormality of its own. At the same time, in an area of 1,000 li in the sky above Han Mountain, bolts of lightning broke through the sky and whistled through the air towards Su Ming. The many lightning bolts illuminated the earth. The rumbling sounds deafened ears, causing all the people on land to be left gasping in amazement and shock. Their minds became blank. The sky was filled with lightning. In the midst of the rumbling sounds, Su Ming coughed out blood as he was shrouded by lightning sparks. Lightning sparks could even be seen swimming in his blood before the blood instantly turned into a small mass of blood mist. Su Ming was pale, but his eyes were incredibly bright. Within his body, earth and lightning and void lightning relentlessly crashed into each other, turning into the power of lightning that grew increasingly stronger within him. At the same time, his awakening chi was absorbing that power of lightning in a shocking manner. It continued to take that power and to refine it into Su Ming's origin vessel. Su Ming could instantly refine a lot of materials into his origin vessel with the sort of refinement he was conducting, but since ancient times, it was almost unheard of for anyone to refine lightning into their origin vessel. Even for berserkers who awakened with 999 blood veins, this slow speed was enough for them to be killed before they succeeded. My body can't take it anymore. Do I really have to give up now? Conflict appeared on Su Ming's face. He had not managed to complete the refinement. The earth and lightning and void lightning within him were crashing against each other incessantly. Every single time they crashed, the power of lightning that was created would become stronger, causing Su Ming to be unable to withstand it for a long period of time even if he had awakened. I can only last for at most 10 breaths before I die. Su Ming jolted. A shade of blue had appeared in the sky. Do I give up and make spirit plunder into my origin awakening vessel, or do I continue? But if I continue, I won't be able to succeed. Yet if I have to give up, I'll regret it. It would have been fine if I didn't have the chance, but now that I have and saw how lightning is produced, if I could just have enough time to persevere through it, then I'm absolutely certain that I could turn lightning into my origin vessel. But, with a loud crash, Su Ming trembled and coughed out blood once again. His face was pale. Lightning surrounded him. He could also sense that there was lightning filling up the sky further in the distance. There's still one more way. I still have one more way. In this critical moment, an idea appeared in Su Ming's head, but he did not have time to think whether he would be successful. He hastily descended. The sky rumbled. He might have been falling at incredible speeds, but lightning continued assaulting him, causing him to cough out a lot of blood. Eventually, when his body descended above Han Mountain City, the black mist armor on his body dissipated with a boom, revealing the black robes he wore underneath. They turned into ashes in an instant. Fortunately, the light from the lightning was blinding, hence it was still difficult for others to see him. They could only see a ball of lightning descending upon Han Mountain City at shocking speed and charging towards the stone gate separating the third and second layers of Han Mountain City, where Han Mountain Bell was. Su Ming landed on Han Mountain Bell, then quickly sat down cross-legged. He was refining the power of lightning at maddening speeds within him. The bolts of lightning crashed into him with huge rumbles, but the moment they landed on him, they covered Han Mountain Bell. The bell trembled and bell chimes rang out. As they echoed in the area, a large amount of lightning appeared in the sky, covering 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 li area. With Su Ming acting as the center, they charged right there. The bell tolls became louder, exuding a mighty and majestic presence that seemed to be echoing through the entire world. At that moment, besides the old man from the 3 people from Freezing Sky Clan that were 2,000 li away from Han Mountain City who still remained calm, shock completely replaced all other emotions within the man and woman. They looked at the shocking bolts of lightning in the sky and trembled. What is fellow sister Han Feizi doing? She's refining thunder. The one who answered them was the calm old man. He might look calm, but the shock and eagerness in his eyes revealed the torrent of emotions in his heart. That lass Yan Fei is bold, she actually dared to use lightning as her origin awakening vessel. As expected of a divine general, since ancient times, very few prodigies dared to refine celestial lightning. This was originally something only the immortals in other worlds could do. We rarely hear anyone succeeding amongst the Berserker tribe. Praise and admiration appeared on the old man's face. It's a pity that Junior Zhou Shan was a step ahead, and she's a lass. It's not suitable for her to receive my inheritance, a pity, such pity. The old man sighed deeply, and he felt a little depressed. It's so hard trying to look for a suitable disciple. It was also during this time, at the foot of the 7-colored mountain located far into the distance, that the girl exuding wild beauty let out a light chuckle before standing up and rearranging the chessboard. She then personally poured a cup of wine for the handsome man in white. Her face was slightly red due to shyness, but she still winked at him and held up her cup. Big brother Sima, allow me to toast you. I will talk to my father about letting you into Freezing Sky Cave. The man in white smiled faintly and looked at the beautiful girl before him gently. He took the cup, but the moment he did so, the man suddenly jolted. A large amount of lightning sparks appeared out of nowhere and swam through his entire body. As the girl cried out in surprise, his right hand trembled. The wine cup shattered with a bang. For the first time, the man's expression drastically changed and he swiftly stood up before glaring at the horizon in the distance. His breathing quickened, a rare sight to be seen. The power of lighting. Han Mountain Bell only belongs to me, Sima Xin. Chapter 197. It's been a long while, Junior Sister Fang. Big brother Sima. The girl was stunned. Worry appeared on her face. She had never seen that expression on the man's face. In her impression of him, that drastic change and rapid behavior should never appear on Sima Xin. He was always gentle and elegant, and would always have a faint smile on his lips, as if even in the face of mountain shattering and the earth breaking, he would still remain unperturbed. This was what attracted her to him. In her mind, this sort of man was what was considered to be truly powerful. Yet at that moment, she saw Sima Xin's expression change. She saw the sudden appearance of lightning sparks outside his body. She saw the wine cup shattering. Once she linked all these together with Sima Xin's words, a theory appeared in the girl's heart. At the moment Sima Xin's wine cup shattered and lightning sparks traveled through his entire body, a shocking change appeared in Han Mountain City. The lightning that filled the sky in an area of thousands of li all charged towards Su Ming, sitting on Han Mountain Bell. As bell chimes echoed in the air, amidst the sky that was filled with lightning, suddenly, the third abnormality appeared after the manifestation of the true form of the deity's statue of transcendence in the blue cloud. It was an indistinct fierce beast. While only its contour was visible, there was a mighty presence coming from it like a tidal wave. That fierce beast had 9 heads. 6 of them had their eyes closed as if they were sleeping. 2 of the 3 heads that had their eyes open were surrounded by a large amount of lightning. It let out huge rumbling sounds, and as lightning surrounded the heads, the reflection of a person in white appeared in the eyes of 2 of the heads. However, that person's figure was distorted. Su Ming's body was reflected in the eyes of the one head left. At that moment, it was looking at the horizon in the distance coldly. Black mist surrounded it, making it glaringly obvious. 9. A muffled low roar came out from the mouths of the 3 heads of the beast that had their eyes opened. 9. Headed dragon. The voice seemed to have traveled through the passages of time. It shook the heavens and earth, and it even made most of the lightning around it dissipate. This strange sight made all those watching from the ground to fall into shock. Su Ming sat on Han Mountain Bell and used it to resist the power of lightning. This was the only method he could think of. The bell itself was a priceless treasure, and the one head from the 9 that had his will was the best thing that could resist lightning in this place. The moment he sat down, and the moment most of the power of lightning in his body spilled out and surged into the bell, Su Ming knew he had made the correct decision. His face may have been pale, but his expression was calm. As of now, he had ample time to refine the lightning created when the earthen lightning and void lightning in his body crashed against each other. As for the might of the lightning that was attracted to him from the area around, most of it went to the bell underneath him, and the bell was resisting the might in his place. In fact, at that moment, ambition grew within Su Ming's heart. Han Mountain Bell was a priceless treasure, but he could not take it away. Even the person in white who had obtained 2 heads could not take the bell away. If Su Ming wanted to claim the bell, then he definitely needed to awaken more heads and leave his will within them. Before he transcended, Su Ming could at most only awaken 1 head. Yet now, he had transcended. The moment he realized that the bell could resist lightning in his place and earn him more time, his ambition appeared. He spread out the branding art around the bell. As the bell tolled, as the 3 awakened heads of the beast rose and yelled out, "9-headed dragon." The bell let out a loud chime that was layered with multiple layers of sound. As the chime rang out, a layer of ripples spread out. Han Mountain City trembled, the mountains around the area shook, and another head from the 6 heads of the beast in the sky opened its eyes swiftly. The moment it opened its eyes, the beast let out a howl that reverberated in the sky once again. 9-headed dragon, south. That voice was filled with astonishing power. As it echoed in the air, the eyes of the awakened 4th head shone with a brilliant light. Su Ming's body appeared in its pupils. The instant Su Ming's will occupied 2 of the 9 heads of the wild beast, he clearly felt a mysterious connection between him and the bell. While that connection did not allow him to use the bell, it made him feel as if he was in perfect harmony with the bell. It was as if this sacred treasure belonged to him in the first place, and now, it was showing signs of returning to him. It was also during this moment that the other 2 heads of the wild beast in the sky let out sullen voices. Those voices sounded like a low roar as it reverberated in the area. "Han Mountain Bell belongs to me, Sima Shin. I'd like to see just who you are." The moment the voice appeared, all the people in Han Mountain City fell silent. Nan Tien and the others immediately turned pale. The mountains belonging to the 3 tribes were so quiet a pin could be heard if it fell on the ground. Han Kang Zi trembled. To her, that voice was akin to a nightmare. Yet very soon, Han Kang Zi's expression changed and she quickly spoke. "Brother, Fang Mu." Fang Shen trembled, and he appeared to be struggling. Did he truly not understand the nature of his son's injuries? That was his secret, and no one else knew about it. However, he only struggled for a moment before he gritted his teeth and looked as if he had decided to put everything on the line before he ran towards Han Kangzi standing on the mountain stairs with a pale face. He immediately followed behind her. Fang Mu was originally watching anxiously and excitedly on Tranquil East Mountain when he suddenly trembled and fainted. A lot of black mist rose from his body. That black mist spread out, and in the blink of an eye, it enveloped his entire body, moving in as if it was about to occupy the center of his brows. At the same time, the Tranquil East tribe's chief of war also trembled furiously. Black mist spread out from his body. The same thing also happened to several people on Lake of Colors Mountain and Pukchiang Mountain. In their unconscious states, their bodies convulsed as the black mist covered their faces. As the 2 heads of the fierce beast in the sky was assaulted by a large amount of lightning, they roared. As it roared, the 2 people who fainted on Pukchiang Mountain and were enveloped by black mist opened their eyes. Their eyes were empty, but there was a hint of maliciousness within them. The moment they opened their eyes, they stood up. As the people beside them let out cries of surprise, they turned into 2 long arcs that whistled as they charged through the air towards Su Ming, who was sitting on Han Mountain Bell. Soon after, Tranquil East Tribe's chief of war lifted his head and howled on Tranquil East Mountain. Black mist spread out on his face, and once it covered him completely, madness appeared in his eyes. A powerful presence burst forth from his body, and he leapt into the air towards Han Mountain City. 2 people surrounded by black mist also charged out from Lake of Colors Mountain towards Han Mountain City. As they charged forth, these 5 people turned into black long arcs that rushed towards Su Ming. They were so quick that they closed in on him in a moment. These 5 people had already fallen into madness. Their eyes were filled with a savage ferociousness. As the people in Han Mountain City cried out in surprise, the 3 tribes remained in silence. The 5 people closed in on Su Ming on Han Mountain Bell from 3 different directions. Tranquil East Tribe's chief of war was the first to arrive. His face was filled with malice. With a low growl, he lifted his right hand and swung it towards Su Ming. A giant log appeared behind his body. The giant log rumbled and rushed towards Su Ming. At the same time, the chief of war pounded his chest with his left hand. Immediately, his shirt exploded, revealing the berserker mark of a battle axe on his chest. The berserker mark let out a dim light and gained substance. It materialized in the sky and the axe swung down towards Su Ming. The other 4 people arrived in succession and activated a variety of berserker arts, forming a wave of loud booms as they closed in on Su Ming. Su Ming closed his eyes and did not move. At that moment, he had already reached the final stage of refining lightning. He could not be disturbed. In the face of the barrage from the 5 people, a green light shot out from the center of his brows and turned into the small virescent sword. This was not a moment to hide the sword. The instant the sword came out, it immediately spun rapidly around Su Ming's body and turned into a layer of green light that acted like a shield. Rumbling sounds echoed in the air. The giant wood crashed into the green light. The giant axe slashed towards him horizontally. The moment it touched the green light, the attacks from the other 4 people also arrived. The battle was not restricted to the ground. In the sky, the 2 heads that contained Su Ming's will charged towards the 2 heads occupied by Sima Shin's will. The 4 heads of the fierce beast started attacking and biting each other as if they were trying to destroy one another. However, the heads occupied by Sima Shin's will had to resist the lightning strikes that came crashing towards them besides having to deal with Su Ming. Due to this, they were caught in a disadvantageous position. This was a strange battle, and it was the first time Su Ming and Sima Shin crossed hands with each other. As the rumbles echoed in the air, Su Ming remained seated and still on Han Mountain Bell. He simply allowed the 5 people around him attack the light formed by the virescent sword, because he did not have the luxury to divide his attention to control the sword and kill these people. He could only remain in defense. What he needed now was time. He had refined most of the lightning in his body. Before long, once he finished refining all of the lightning within him, his origin transcendence vessel would appear. This origin vessel would be the lightning of the heavens and earth. Fang Shen was anxious as he took huge steps towards where his son was on Tranquil East Tribe. Han Kangzi followed behind him. They traveled at incredible speeds. When the 5 people were attacking the green light surrounding Su Ming, Fang Shen or Han Kangzi had already arrived at the mountainside. Many tribe members were gathered there as they looked anxiously at Fang Mu trembling relentlessly on the ground. Fang Mu's face was purple, only the center of his brows remaining blank. Fang Shen closed in with 1 step, but the moment he got closer, he stopped and felt his heart taking a loud thump against his chest. A freezing presence spread out abruptly from Fang Mu's body. Han Kangzi's expression instantly changed. Once she came to a halt, she instinctively took a few steps backwards. Fang Mu, who still had his eyes closed, suddenly stopped trembling. Slowly, he opened his eyes. There was no madness within his eyes, only tranquility. That calm gaze made all those who saw it feel a chill blossoming in their hearts and running down their spine. "It's been a long while, junior sister Fang." An unfamiliar voice came from Fang Mu's mouth. He stood up and looked at Han Kangzi with a gentle smile. The purple shade of his skin slowly disappeared and turned into a purple long robe that covered his body. Han Kangzi shuddered, and all color disappeared from her face. Chapter 198, Sima Shin. Sima Shin. Han Kangzi took another few steps back, and hatred appeared on her face. Fang Shen stood there dumbly. As he looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar person before him, his heart clenched in pain. He knew the source of Fang Mu's injuries, but he pretended not to. What else could he do besides that? He only pretended not to know and put on an act that he had done everything he could to cure his son's injuries. He knew that only by doing so could there be a possibility for Fang Mu to truly recover someday. "I am Fang Shen, tribe leader of Tranquil East Tribe. Greetings, Sir Sima," Fang Shen lowered his head and bore with the pain his heart as he spoke respectfully. That gentle look remained on Fang Emu's face, as if he did not see the hatred on Han Kangzi's face. He ignored Fang Shen, who was standing by the side. He walked towards Han Kangzi, and once he was by her side, he lifted Han Kangzi's pale chin with his right hand. Han Mountain Bell is mine, Fang Mu is mine, and you too, are mine. Now, I will go and see just who is it who dared to take what belongs to me. As Fang Mu spoke, a dark look appeared on his face. With a swing of his arm, he no longer paid any attention to Han Kangzi and walked to the summit of Tranquil East Mountain up the stairs. As he walked forward, the steps of the stairs would be covered by a layer of freezing air. When he arrived at the summit, the elder of Tranquil East tribe only cast him a glance before a shudder immediately ran through his body and he quickly got up to bow towards Fang Mu. Greetings, Sir Sima. Fang Mu did not speak. He walked past the elder of Tranquil East tribe with a dark expression. He stood at the edge of the mountain and looked towards Han Mountain City. Without hearing his command, the elder of Tranquil East tribe did not dare stand up. After he was bowed for an extended period of time, the other people around him saw this and were shocked. They also bowed down and did not dare straighten up. Right at the moment Fang Mu stood on the summit and cast his gaze towards Su Ming sitting on Han Mountain Bell in Han Mountain City, the lightning within Su Ming's body erupted forth with a piercing light and a loud crash. A change that made Su Ming's body tremble surged out from within him. Those were thin bolts of lightning arcs. The appearance of these bolts of lightning swimming around his body were not drawn into Su Ming from his surroundings, but a product from his body after the earth and lightning and void lightning relentlessly crashed into each other and fused together. After continuously refining it, he finally made a part of it completely belong to him. What he refined was not lightning, but the source that created lightning's power. He refined the earth and lightning and void lightning. Only during the instant they crashed into each other would these two materials gain substance for refinement, and only then would he succeed. The earth and lightning surged through his organs, and the void lightning filled his brain and the top of his skull. When these two bolts of lightning that were not visible to the naked eye fused together and produced a shocking force, lightning would naturally appear outside Su Ming's body. He trembled. The lightning in his body was finally completely refined and had turned into his origin awakening vessel. However, it was during this moment that Su Ming's heart leapt and shock replaced all emotions within him. He had thought that he was refining lightning, but once he succeeded, he saw something unbelievable in his body. Lightning filled his body, but the bolts of lightning would not cause any harm to him. It created a feeling within him as if they were about to fuse into him and become a part of him. He could feel that there was also lightning arcs swimming outside his body. Crackling sounds echoed in the sky and the mark of lightning appeared at the center of his brows. He succeeded. He successfully turned lightning into his origin vessel. Lightning rumbled in the sky. As the sound spread out, it seemed as if there were countless people roaring in the sky, congratulating Su Ming. A sensation that made him feel powerful rose within Su Ming's heart, but it could not dispel the shock he felt at that moment. After a long while, he forcefully suppressed that feeling and opened his eyes. The moment he did so, the small virescent sword came to an abrupt halt and slashed outwards horizontally, piercing through the center of Tranquil East Tribe's chief of war's brows, who had been incessantly throwing attacks at him. It shot through his head with a bit of blood, and Tranquil East Tribe's chief of war trembled before he fell down dead. At the same time, numerous bolts of lightning spread out from within Su Ming's body and charged towards the other four people. The four were completely shrouded in black mist, but before they could dodge, they had already been bombarded by the power of lightning. One of the four people instantly exploded, while the other three coughed out blood. Once they tumbled back, the small virescent sword caught up to them, and with one single slash, the three people's heads flew off their necks. A chill appeared in Su Ming's calm gaze. He would never take the initiative to provoke others, but once someone harassed him, then he would definitely not show mercy. After killing all four in one go, Su Ming looked towards Tranquil East Tribe. He had a strong hunch that there was a person looking at him from Tranquil East Mountain. The moment he looked over, his gaze clashed with Sima Shin's in the air between Han Mountain and Tranquil Mountain. The moment their gazes clashed, Fang Mu trembled where he stood on Tranquil East Mountain. A large amount of lightning instantly appeared around his entire body and it traveled into the ground through his feet. His pupils shrank. I underestimated him. The moment Su Ming met Sima Shen's gaze, his body was immediately covered in a chilling layer of frost on Han Mountain Bell. A large amount of freezing air spread out from within his body, and he was covered in a thin layer of ice. Even if the ice were instantly destroyed by the lightning arcs and disappeared, a shudder ran through his body. Su Ming stood up slowly, and the instant he straightened up, the lightning in the sky let out a rumble and gathered around him, as if it was about to spill out in an instant. I refined lightning and turned it to my origin vessel. My origin vessel is caught between a state of being an illusion and being real. Its true form rests in me, yet the moment it spreads out, it would cause the earth and void lightning in the word to fuse together. A flash appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He lifted his right hand when the lightning from the sky arrived and seized at the air in the direction of the numerous bolts of lightning. Su Ming's body was immediately covered by the numerous bolts of lightning. The rumbling sounds shook the heavens and earth. Eventually, there was no longer any lightning in the sky. All of it had gathered on Su Ming and turned into a gigantic ball of lightning. The light from it shone in all directions, looking as if it was a sun made of lightning. When Fang Mu saw this on Tranquil East Mountain, his face became even more solemn. "What's his name?" The elder of Tranquil East tribe hesitated for a moment before he spoke in a low voice. "Sir, his name is Mo Su. He awakened after attaining great completion in the blood solidification realm and was awarded the title, Divine General of Awakening." A piercing glare appeared in Fang Mu's eyes. He stood on the mountain and lifted his right hand before pointing towards a barren mountain in the distance. "Freezing Sky Berserker Art, 9 Creations 1. His voice was calm, but when his words traveled into the elder's ears, the elder of Tranquil East tribe felt his heart lurch. 9 Creations. Sir Sima has actually managed to control this Berserker Art to this extent. Cold air suddenly appeared out of nowhere on the mountain Fang Mu pointed to. That cold air instantly enveloped the entire mountain, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a mountain of ice. A rumble that shook the earth echoed in the air. The ice mountain trembled, and a layer of ice broke off from the mountain in perfect condition and floated into the sky. More accurately speaking, this was an ice mountain that had nothing within. The inside of the mountain was empty, but its shape was the exact same as the mountain on the ground. As it floated up, the empty ice mountain charged towards Han Mountain with a loud boom, commanded by Fang Mu's finger, storming towards where Su Ming was and falling on him. The entire Han Mountain trembled. Many rocks broke off from the mountain and fell down, along with a lot of buildings that instantly shattered. Su Ming trembled. The giant ball of lightning around him floated upwards and crashed into the empty ice mountain in midair. When his lightning and the ice mountain came into contact, a huge boom that shook the sky and earth reverberated in the air and turned into a wave of sound that spread out in all directions. The ice mountain was enveloped by lightning. As it shook, it immediately turned into countless shards. Yet the moment it shattered, the ball of lightning around Su Ming also disappeared. When both lightning and ice disappeared, Su Ming looked as if he was frozen. His entire body was covered in layers of ice. Although the ice shattered soon after, Su Ming's face was incredibly pale. When the ice on his body disappeared, he coughed out a mouthful of blood. The blood was also freezing cold. When he coughed out the blood, it turned into grains of ice that scattered away into the wind. However, there were still bolts of lightning rotating behind Su Ming. They spread out as if they were relentlessly trying to merge together once again. The symbol of thunder also appeared on the center of Su Ming's brows. However, the symbol of lightning had numerous branches spreading out. Its shape was incomplete, but it still looked incredibly similar to the lightning people saw in the sky. Besides those lightning sparks on his body, there was also the armor that was formed by black mist. That armor covered his entire body, including his face. Only his indifferent gaze could be seen as he stared at Fang Mu, who was similarly looking back at him from Tranquil East Mountain. "What is mine is here. If you dare take it, then you must pay an equivalent. No matter where you are, I will find you." Fang Mu spoke languidly. The robe made from purple mist on his body was quickly disappearing. He came to this place personally for one purpose. He wanted to see who the person who dared to take what belonged to him was. Now, he had seen him. It's a pity that this body can only provide me enough power for one strike, but if you're injured with just one strike, then, you're too weak. You're not worthy for me to come here. But I'd like to see whether you still dare to take what belongs to me after experiencing my attack. Fang Mu smiled faintly. As his voice echoed in the air, the purple robe on his body completely dissipated. He sat down cross-legged, and once he cast a glance at Su Ming, he closed his eyes. Once he opened them once again, there was bewilderment in his eyes. Sima Xin had left. The land was silent. Only the four heads of the fierce beast continued attacking and biting each other in the sky. Su Ming was silent. He could tell that the other person just now was Sima Xin. He's indeed strong. Su Ming lifted his head and looked at the nine-headed beast in the sky. A glint appeared in his eyes and he slowly floated into the air. Once he reached the peak, he looked at the heads that were taken over by Sima Xin's will. But, you can't prevent me from taking what belongs to you. Once he controlled the two heads, Su Ming could tell that once he took over four heads, then he could take the bell away. Chapter 199, Departure. Su Ming knew that with his current power, he could not awaken another two of the slumbering heads. However, he could still take over the two awakened heads that were occupied by Sima Xin's will. He may be strong, but not so strong that I can't wipe out his will. A chilly look appeared in Su Ming's eyes as he walked towards the heads in the sky. The two heads of the fierce beast that were occupied by Sima Xin's will turned there towards Su Ming at the same time. The figures of Sima Xin in their pupils also looked as if they were looking at Su Ming. They did not fight back. They simply looked at Su Ming walking towards them coldly. Sima Xin knew since a long time ago that with just the wills in the heads, he could not prevent them from being erased unless he came to the place himself, but he could not make it in time. However, he did not make any threats. The underlying meaning in his aloof gaze was much more fearsome than any words that could be spoken. Su Ming looked at Sima Xin's figures in the eyes of the two heads with a similarly cold glare. His eyes were also freezing cold. When the elder of Tranquil East tribe saw this sight from Tranquil East Mountain, he finally understood why Su Ming and Sima Xin felt so similar. It was because these two people were similarly indifferent. Even the presence they exuded was almost identical. Su Ming lifted his right hand and many lightning arcs appeared out of nowhere. In an instant, the two heads of the fierce beast were enveloped. Sima Xin, this bell belongs to me. As Su Ming stated that calmly, thunder rumbled in the sky. Sima Xin's figure in the one of the two heads immediately disappeared and turned blank. The other figure disappeared soon after. The moment it almost disintegrated from the eyes, Su Ming saw Sima Xin smiling. No signs of emotion, neither happiness nor anger, could be seen in that smile. However, there was a hint of pride that was embedded in his bones hidden away in that smile. That pride could not be seen by others, nor did they have the right to sense it, but at that moment, it appeared. Su Ming's face remained passive. He swung his right arm and as lightning rumbled, the smiling Sima Xin in the eyes was completely wiped out. The instant the figures in the eyes of the two heads were completely wiped out, lightning sparks suddenly appeared within their pupils, and gradually, Su Ming's figure was reflected in them. At that moment, the four of the 9 heads of the fierce beast in the sky with Su Ming's will lifted their heads and roared. 9-headed dragon, Southern, Emperor, Absolute. The 5 words echoed in Su Ming's mind like a giant's growl. The voice sounded old and weathered as if it was mumbling, giving others a feeling that it was sometimes coming from afar, but sometimes very near. 9-headed dragon Southern Emperor Absolute, Su Ming mumbled. The moment his voice traveled out, a bell chime that had never appeared before in Han Mountain City reverberated in the air abruptly. The bell chime sounded as if it was recognizing its master. As it reverberated in the air, the Han Mountain bell on the land trembled, and right before the crowd's astonished gaze, it slowly floated up from the ground. It was not quick, but every single time it floated up a little more, it would let out a bell chime that would turn into ripples. Eventually, the bell charged towards Su Ming. The giant bell was shrinking rapidly, and when it got closer to Su Ming, the bell shrank to the size of a fingernail. It swiftly fused into the center of Su Ming's brows and disappeared. The instant it fused with Su Ming's body, a loud bell chime came from within him. The bell chime spread all around the area, causing all those who heard it feel shaken to the core. In that instant, their minds turned blank. Even the old woman from Lake of Colors tribe was in the same condition. They did not know how much time had passed, but when the crowd gradually recovered from their daze and their minds became clear, they turned their eyes to the sky, but Su Ming could not be found. Not in the sky, not on the earth, not on the mountains, not anywhere else. Su Ming just could not be found. It was as if he had never appeared and everything that had happened was just a dream shared by the crowd. After a short period of silence, an uproar broke out among the people. Is he gone? What happened just now? It felt like it was just an instant, but when I woke up, the Lord Divine General was already gone. Han Mountain Bell. Han Mountain Bell. The bell is also taken. The old woman took a deep breath on Lake of Colors Mountain. There was a contemplative look on her face. By her side, Yan Luan frowned. She also looked all around the area for Su Ming but to no avail. Just as everyone was looking for Su Ming, a cry of surprise suddenly rang out. The person who cried out was near where Zan Lun was in Han Mountain City. Zan Lun stood there with fear in his eyes, still and unmoving. There was a man not too far away from him. He was the one who had cried out. He saw a bloody red line on Zan Lun's neck. Blood flowed down from the line and eventually gushed out from that wound. When the crowd's attention turned towards him, Zan Lun's head was separated abruptly from his body and fell to the ground. When the head rolled hundreds of feet away from him, his body fell. The crowd instantly fell silent. No one spoke a word. The elder of Pukchiang tribe was pale as he stood on Pukchiang Mountain. He was the only one who saw what had happened just now clearly. In truth, his level of cultivation might have been in the middle stage of the awakening realm, but right now, he could not have been able to see clearly under the influence of Han Mountain Bell's chime. However, Su Ming had come here before. The elder of Pukchiang tribe sucked in a deep breath. His mind was clouded when he heard the chime, but once a great might scattered the cloud in his head, his mind became clear. The moment his mind cleared up, he saw Su Ming clad in the black mist armor walking towards them from the sky. Once he was above Pukchiang Mountain, he took away the remaining half of the skull that was the only thing left of the head after the incessant barrage of lightning it had suffered. After that, he cast the elder a glance. The elder of Pukchiang tribe would never forget that gaze. When he thought back on it, he would still shudder as if lightning had just swept through his body. He saw Su Ming walking away from the mountain. With a flash of green in midair, a green ray of light charged towards Zan Lun in Han Mountain City. It circled around Zan Lun's neck once and returned to Su Ming. The man had seemed as if he was thinking about something, but he immediately lifted his head towards the east, then turned into a long arc and charged in another direction before disappearing without a trace. While all the people in Han Mountain City and the three tribes were silent, three long arcs whistled through the air as they charged in from the distance. The leader of the three arcs was the old man named Lu. He approached swiftly and stood in the sky above Han Mountain City with a grave expression. His very first sight when he came was the chain of Han Mountain leading to Pukchiang Mountain that was swaying because it had lost some stone pillars. He narrowed his eyes. The people from Han Mountain did not recognize the old man, neither did they recognize the man and woman who came after him. However, a conflicted look appeared on the old woman from Lake of Colors tribe when she saw the old man. The other person who recognized the old man was Han Kangzi, who was still standing on tranquil East Mountain with a pale face. The moment she saw the old man, a respectful look immediately appeared on her face. "Greetings, Leader Lu, fellow brother Chen, fellow sister Shu," Han Kangzi greeted softly, looking at the man and woman. The moment Han Kangzi's words were heard, excitement immediately appeared in the crowd and around Han Mountain. Everyone looked towards the trio. Freezing Sky Clan. It must be the envoys from Freezing Sky Clan. They hastened their trip by several months this time. The people from Freezing Sky Clan are here. The selection for disciples is about to begin. It's a pity, if they came earlier, then they would have seen what had happened just now. I wonder who will be fortunate enough to be taken into Freezing Sky Clan. The Lord Divine General will definitely be able to. Discussions and uproars broke out among the people. Envy, excitement, and all sorts of mixed feelings rose inside them, which were then reflected in their eyes as they turned all their attention towards the three people in the sky. Most of the people in Han Mountain City gathered here for the goal of joining Freezing Sky Clan. How could they not be excited at this moment? Even if their chances were slim, that did not mean it was impossible. The old man in the sky did not seem to hear the discussions. He stared at the chain of Han Mountain and the light in his eyes flickered before he lifted his head to look at Pukchiang Mountain. The man and woman beside him were relaxed even under the people's attention. They were already used to outsiders looking at them like this. The people of Freezing Sky Clan would always catch the attention of the masses like the blazing sun no matter where they went. It was even more so now that the two of them were here to take in disciples for the school. As of now, their status symbolized Freezing Sky. Nan Tian, Ke Ju Si, and Leng Ying were also barely able to remain calm. They wrapped their fists in their palms towards the three people in the sky. Greetings, envoys of Freezing Sky Clan. I am Nan Tian. Greetings, envoys of Freezing Sky Clan. I am Ke Ju Si. Greetings, envoys. I am Leng Ying. Even with three awakened berserkers greeting them, the man and woman from Freezing Sky Clan only gave them a brief nod of acknowledgement. The old man did not even bother. He was frowning instead as he averted his gaze from Pukchiang Mountain and looked towards the sky. The spot he was looking at was where the true form of the deity statue of awakening had appeared before. Fellow sister Han Kangzi. The two of us were given orders to come and take in disciples. We have not seen each other for quite some time, let's catch up later. The beautiful woman smiled at Han Kangzi and wrapped her fist in her palm as a greeting. She swept her gaze across the crowd and zeroed in on Han Feizi. With that one glance, she was stunned, but there was still a smile on her face as she spoke amiably towards Han Feizi standing in the city quietly. You must be fellow sister Han Feizi. Congratulations on being awarded the title Divine General of Awakening and summoning the true form of the deity statue of awakening when you awakened after attaining great completion in the blood solidification realm. If the left preceptor knew about this, it will surely cause a stir within Freezing Sky Clan. The man named Chen by her side hesitated for a moment as well. Naturally, he had seen that Han Feizi had yet to awaken. However, he could not find it in himself to believe that there was someone else in the city who managed to awaken. Perhaps something went wrong for her. The man named Chen smiled and wrapped his fist in his palm towards Han Feizi as he spoke with a smile. I too wish to congratulate you for being awarded the title of the Divine General of Awakening and attaining great completion in the blood solidification realm. This is definitely not an ordinary matter. Fellow sister, you will need to rest well and recover as quickly as possible. The moment the both of them spoke, the loud discussions all around them instantly fell dead. The excited, conflicted, and envious gaze all changed in that moment, and their eyes seemed to contain a strange look as they stared at the man and woman who spoke. Not only did their words make the crowd's voices fall silent, Han Feizi also frowned before she lifted her head and looked at the two people in the sky. The person who awakened after attaining great completion in the blood solidification realm is not me. Chapter 200. Tian Xiezi. The moment her words were out, the expressions on the man and woman instantly changed into disbelief. It's not you. Could there be someone else here who attained great completion for the blood solidification realm? If that's the case, then everything that I saw just now, including the true form of the deity statue of awakening, was due to someone else. This is. The two of them took in a sharp breath. They suddenly understood why the discussions around them suddenly died down the moment they spoke just now. If it's not you, then who was it? Who could attain great completion in the blood solidification realm, then summon the true form of the deity statue of awakening and be awarded the title of Divine General of Awakening? In the face of the obviously shocked words uttered by the man and woman in the sky, Han Feizi remained silent for a moment before she spoke softly. It was a stranger. He awakened after attaining great completion for the blood solidification realm and refined lightning into his origin vessel. He also took away Han Mountain Bell. Sima Xin also took control over a body to appear, but even he could not stop the stranger. Her words were soft, but they fell into the two people's ears like thunder. It made them breathless, as if they could not believe this sudden change. Even fellow brother Sima came, and he couldn't stop him. Was this person a man or a woman? How many blood veins did he have? The man named Chen immediately asked. The moment the woman by his side heard Sima Shen's name, she sucked in a sharp breath and a respectful look appeared on her face. However, there was also fear within that respect. He's an adult man. As for his blood veins, I do not know, Han Feizi replied calmly. Above 995 blood veins. An old and aged voice came from the old man's mouth. He had averted his gaze from the sky and was looking at where Han Mountain Bell used to be. That's a prodigy if I've ever seen one. The old man let out a boisterous laugh and joy appeared on his face. He looked elated as he cast his gaze towards a location in the distance. Only the elder of Puxiang tribe knew that it was the direction in which Su Ming had left. As he laughed, a bright shine appeared on the old man's face. He turned his head toward Lake of Colors Mountain and looked at the elder of Lake of Colors tribe. As they looked into each other's eyes, the old woman closed her eyes. The old man did not speak. He took one step towards where Su Ming had left and then moved so quickly that he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Right till the moment he left, besides the one glance he threw to the old woman from Lake of Colors tribe, all of his other looks were on the places Su Ming had traversed before. When the old man left, the man and woman snapped out of their daze and flew to Lake of Colors Mountain in silence. A strange light appeared in Han Kangzi's eyes. There was eagerness and excitement there. She looked towards the direction the old man left and a vague thought appeared in her head. The incident in Han Mountain City had ended. When he came, Su Ming was at the blood solidification realm. When he left, had awakened. This was the first time in Su Ming's life he flew in the air with his own power. However, he did not feel excited. There was only a grave look on his face. Besides leaving quickly to choose a hidden and remote location to draw his berserker mark, he also left due to his amazement with the refined origin vessel within him. It was also because he sensed two presences charging forth when he was still in Han Mountain City. He had yet to stabilize his power. That was why after a moment of thought, he chose to leave. Su Ming flew at full speed all the way. After a few days, remote mountains appeared in his sights. This place was quiet and people rarely came here. He stood in midair and once he swept his gaze around with his head lowered, he charged down to the ground like a comet and disappeared into the mountains. In a spot in the endless mountain ranges, green light appeared. Su Ming stood there calmly and looked at the small Virescent sword speeding forth before him. Once it dug out a cave abode for him, Su Ming walked in. The moment he walked into the cave abode, the big rock that was dug out previously turned into a door and blocked off the cave. Su Ming looked around the dark cave. He touched his bosom with his right hand and red light instantly flared up. A beast skin appeared and floated down to the ground. It instantly turned into the red meadow and covered the ground in the cave. Once he activated the branding art, the small Virescent sword floated to one side of the stone door and remained there in constant vigilance. He Feng was also forced out of Su Ming's body. He bowed deeply towards Su Ming and respect and gratitude appeared on his face. A few days ago, he had regained consciousness when Su Ming claimed Han Mountain Bell, and saw Su Ming taking Zhang Lun's life with one slash. At the same time he revered in the feeling of revenge, deep reverence grew within him towards Su Ming. This sort of reverence fused into his soul. He could not imagine just what sort of power was necessary to kill a awakened berserker with one strike. Work with the Virescent sword and defend me. Su Ming sat down cross-legged and gave He Feng a look. He Feng immediately nodded and the respect on his face grew. There was even a hint of instinctive flattery as he made his promise. No longer bothering with He Feng, Su Ming took a deep breath. He may look calm, but in his heart, he felt somber. He closed his eyes and could feel that there was no lightning within him at this moment. However, he just needed to make the earth and lightning resting in his organs and the void lightning resting in his head collide, and lightning would instantly appear. That, however, was secondary. What was important was that during the instant lightning appeared within him, he saw the same item that had made him shocked once again. That item was real, it had substance, but it would only gain a physical state when lightning appeared, then turn into the illusionary might of lightning before traveling out of his body. What I refined was celestial lightning. It was earthen lightning and void lightning. The power of lightning should only have been produced after the two types of lightning fused together, but how did this come to be? Su Ming could no longer contain the shock he felt as he observed what was within his body dumbly. After a long while, he opened his eyes again and a pensive look appeared in them. After a moment, he closed his eyes again and earth and lightning that could not be seen by others spread out from his organs. At the same time, the void lightning in his head descended. A boom resounded the moment the two collided. A large amount of lightning sparks immediately flew out off Su Ming's body, making Yifeng let out a cry of surprise and retreat. Fear appeared in his eyes as he looked at Su Ming. The instant the two types of lightning collided, Su Ming saw his origin vessel clearly. It was a black plate in the shape of a cauldron with 9 holes on the surface. This was his true origin vessel. As for lightning, those were just illusions. Only the cauldron-shaped black plate with 9 holes was his physical origin awakening vessel. What is it? Su Ming was baffled. That item was within his body, but it only existed for a moment before it disappeared. He could not find it. He touched the piece of debris that was the same hue, hanging on his chest. He remembered the mountain that existed in the stone debris. In his memories, he also seemed to have seen this blue bolt of lightning before. Could it be? But it's not that similar, Su Ming mumbled. As he thought about it in his confused state, Su Ming did not know that an old man was walking in the sky above his cave abode. That old man was the person named Lu from Freezing Sky Clan. There was anticipation on his face as he stood in the sky and looked at the ground. I've only ever taken in 2 disciples in my life, but they weren't able to inherit the true essence of my art. I once placed my hopes in Sima Xin, but the child's heart is not vice, but more a fiend. He's not my best choice. The vice I want is an overturn. The old man mumbled. He cast a look at a specific location among the remote mountains and his anticipation grew. Whether you can become my disciple depends on your serendipity. The old man sat down cross-legged in midair, then lifted his right hand and pointed towards the ground. The ancient's words, endless creation. Sagbin, fear, esque. As the old man spoke, he widened his eyes, and red filled the whites of his eyes, causing him to look absolutely different to how he usually looked. His white hair floated in the air even without wind. As it swayed, his hair color also changed. Red spread out through his hair like a tidal wave. In the blink of an eye, his whole hair became red. His red hair dancing in the wind made the old man look like a fallen berserker. Veins popped out on his face and he looked terrifying. Behind him, an illusion appeared. That illusion was of a sea of blood. In that sea was a stone statue. The statue's face could not be seen clearly, but there was a shocking sinister air coming from within it. The old man's power originally seemed to be only at the initial stage of the bone sacrifice realm. He still seemed like he was at the same level, but the sinister presence coming from him was enough to make those whose power was greater than his to feel shaken. Whether you can become my disciple all lies in this day. The old man lifted his right hand and drew an arc in the air before he swung his arm down towards the ground once again. The moment he did so, while the earth did not shake physically, it still gave people the misconception that the ground and mountains were trembling. It was as if stillness and movement had just overlapped with each other, causing people to be unable to differentiate between the two. Even Su Ming did not notice it within his cave abode in the mountains. His entire attention was focused on his body. He was watching his origin vessel turning back into a mere illusion from a physical entity, then gushing out of his body in the form of a bolt of lightning. Forget it. I just don't understand this. Su Ming opened his eyes and a calm look gradually appeared on his face. Right now, I need to draw my berserker mark. What should my berserker mark be? He mumbled. Most of the berserkers already had an illusionary berserker mark before they awakened, and would then draw it on their skin once they awakened so that it could turn into a physical entity. However, there were a group of people who did not know how their berserker marks would look like. They had to sense it through meditation before they could draw it on their skins naturally. Su Ming was one of them. He silently circulated his qi, which did not stem from blood veins. There was the presence of awakening within his qi. As he circulated it, Su Ming gradually fell into a state where he was neither asleep nor awake. It was as if he was in a trance. He placed both his hands on his knees and lifted his head with his eyes closed. His hair spilled on his shoulders and the scar under his eyes glowed with hints of red. My berserker mark, Su Ming mumbled as if he was calling out to his mark. To awakened berserkers, the most important thing to them was not just their origin vessel, but also their berserker mark. The berserker mark was different because it determined the awakened berserker's path in the future. All of them would be different. At that moment, the old man who was also sitting outside the cave abode in the mountains pointed towards the ground with his right index finger. His eyes were closed too, but he opened them swiftly. I see, so it's the moon, That's not it.